and there's stuff showing. Hello, Internet. I'm Scott with PLUGHITZ Live, part of the Tech Podcast Network. Right now, I am here at the Synapse Summit 2019. This is our second year doing the summit. Last year, it was called the Innovation Summit. This year, they rightly corrected the name to be the Synapse Summit because it's what we all called it anyway. So trying to add extra words to the name simply did not make sense, and they have fixed it this year. So the Synapse Summit 2019, last year Danielle and I talked about how it was a little bit, at least where we were, it was a little bit like a mini collision, which was a lot of fun. This year, our coverage is going to be a little different than it was last year. The guests that we have booked are not just from the STEM Pavilion. We've actually got all kinds of people from different aspects of the show. Some will be regular exhibitors, smaller companies. Some will be big, like the University of South Florida, which is not too far from where we are right now, or who else do we have on the list, Michelle? We've got some interesting guests. We've got somebody from a 360 marketing company, which is like a VR marketing company, which is an interesting concept. I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to remember too.
Who else? We've got the schedule in Edge, yeah. Next to the chat room, 2 tabs. Who else do we have in there? I don't remember.
We have the Smart Recycling.
Oh, yeah. Tony Salvaggio, who's been a good friend of the show for a long time. He'll be joining us. That'll be good. Kevin Wolf from Software Logistics will be coming to talk about the new IoT product that his company has developed, which is actually a really cool product. I've gotten to use it personally, and
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I've actually had a hand in developing some of it, so I'm a little biased on it, but it's a thing that is needed and somehow nobody has built. So Kevin did. But yeah, we're going to have a whole lot of really interesting stuff today. Before we get started, before our first guest arrives, our coverage today is powered by Privacy, which if you've seen any of our CES stuff yet, you've heard about Privacy. Privacy is a system that allows you to create temporary and one-time debit cards that can be used at online retailers, and once you use the card, say, at Target, it's locked to Target, and it can never be used at another retailer. So if Target has a credit card breach, like they had 4 or 5 years ago, and that information gets out, all they can do is buy more stuff from Target until you terminate the card, and then you just go into the system and hit new card and move on with your day.
Such a great idea.
Yeah, it takes you 10 seconds to create a card. They've got mobile apps so that you can do it real easy. There's a Chrome browser extension, so when you go to a website, it's like, oh, you're at Target.com, great, and it'll put your privacy card in there for you, and if you don't have one, it'll say, you don't have a card for this website, do you want to create one? It's really great, and they're doing something pretty cool right now. If you have never tried Privacy, and you go to PLUGHITZLive.com/privacy, they will actually give you $5 to try out the platform, and $5 free.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, even if you decide never to use it again, which I promise you will not be the case. I am not using any real cards online anymore. Even my power bill and everything, they're all being paid through Privacy cards, and the service is free. So definitely, PLUGHITZLive.com/privacy. Get your $5 for free. Try it out, on Amazon or wherever you want to use it, and try the $5, and then you're good to go. I promise you, you'll love it. It's hard to not love the service. Our guest shot is no longer set correctly. It is all kinds of weird on our side.
I think we just need to scoot it over a little is all. Well, we were backing in and out. I think.
That's true. Yeah. We
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Well, our first guest is here. Hello.
Good afternoon, Scott. How you doing, man?
Fantastic. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Exciting show so far.
Yeah. You've enjoyed Synapse so far?
Oh, my gosh. This is such a great event. I wish I went to it last year, but this is the first time here, so I'll be back next year for sure.
Very cool. Before we get started, go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
Hi, my name is Kevin Wolf. I have a IoT product company here out of Tampa. We have a product called NewViote, and our tool focuses on building IoT applications where the focus is really on configuration rather than coding.
And I warned the viewers before we got started on the live show that I have had a hand in this product. So,
yeah.
It's something that was needed, right? Like nothing like this is out there, and that's annoying.
It really is annoying. I mean, a lot of times we're talking to customers. For instance, I was just talking to somebody before I came here, and they were saying that they got a quote from somebody to build the application for them, and they said $2.4 million to build this application for them, and he wasn't even convinced that they understood enough to be able to build these types of applications.
Okay. So, which isn't an uncommon situation.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, so the interesting thing about it is normally when you want to build one of these IoT applications, it's a pretty big event. We have to assemble a lot of coders together, and you start out really small, training people on the technology, how to code, and these programmers are cheap to start with. So really our, you know that, well, we're both programmers. So. Anyway, so yeah, with our tool, what we do is we sit down with the business problem, understand what that is, and then we go ahead and decide what type of sensors we want to work with out there, and then we just kind of start carving out and evolving the solution as we go, adding bits and pieces, so within the matter of the first couple of days, we actually have something that we could actually visualize from these devices out in the field. So it's really interesting. There are some products out there, but I think they're more for doing very, very early prototyping, and by the time you actually would go to production, you would have to go to a whole different team to be able to build something from scratch. Well, ours is something, once you build it, you have it ready to go, and you can actually press a button, and we can support scaling up on things like Kubernetes or Docker, and all those types of really kind of cool technologies to make these things scale once you go into production.
Right, and so let's talk a little bit about exactly what it is that we're looking at, right? So first, the Internet of Things is the connectability of devices, right? Like everything out in the world is a smart thing today, right? It doesn't seem to matter. And if you've watched our CES coverage, you know that was kind of a joke of CES this year, is that everything's smart, including the cat litter box. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that was a crazy press release to get. But so everything's smart. That data has to go somewhere, and this is where it goes.
It is. And just to kind of rebuild on what you're saying, I was at a conference. I can't remember what that was, but one of the main topping points throughout the whole conference that people were saying is Uber really an IoT device? If you think about it, well, you wouldn't necessarily think about that right away as Uber being an IoT device, but we're tracking where people are, and we're matching them up with rides. So I think a case could be made for that.
Yeah, sure. Because you've got GPS coordinates coming in from two locations, the rider and the driver, and you're doing calculations on the back end based on that GPS data to figure out who's the best driver to alert about a possible ride. That sounds like IoT stuff to me.
Exactly, exactly. And there's a misconception out there. I mean, some people, and I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with starting out with Arduino and kind of focusing on twiddling the bits and being able to get that little light to come on at the right time. That's actually what I built my whole career on too. But I think there's a difference between that and IoT, and I think it's important to be able to distinguish between those two things, because when I'm building something with an Arduino and I'm hooking up these little wires and the lights are coming on at the right order, that's really great. But that's a different skill set.
And it's all self-contained.
It's all self-contained, exactly. And the skill set to be able to do that is very different than the skill set that you're going to need to be able to build a system that scales across 5 million devices or 2 million devices in a second. So when we talk about IoT, some people say, hey, I'm doing IoT because I got this light flashing. Nothing at all against that. But
that's not what it is.
That's not what IoT is. IoT is being able to manage the ingestion of millions upon millions of messages over the course of a day, or even in some cases probably within minutes or so, plus also the complexity of provisioning and managing those millions of devices out there. What happens when one goes bad? How do you monitor those types of things? So
and the connection and the decision making based on, even if it's a single data source across multiple data points, right? Like, so having an Arduino that turns on a light, not IoT, but having an Arduino like what we saw at CES this year at the Aero Electronics booth, having an Arduino that there's a webcam, there was a Logitech, there was a Microsoft webcam that was feeding to Azure processing to do facial recognition and emotion detection, and then pushing back sentiment analysis and changing the color of the LEDs based on the sentiment that it received.
Absolutely.
Now that's IoT.
That is IoT. We're doing something locally, we're pushing it up to the cloud, and then we think about rolling that out because, I mean, it's fun. We all like playing with these things, but unfortunately at some point we have to have dollars coming in.
Right.
So to be able to take that and scale that to like 2 million devices, all of a sudden it becomes very interesting. And like we talked about earlier, solving the problem, even the connectivity between the Arduino, the cloud to be able to do the sentiment analysis, that's one thing, and that's an incredibly challenging process, but then scaling it across all sorts of different devices out there, that becomes another challenge.
Right, because say the setup that's coming from the Microsoft webcam might be different than the setup coming from a phone sitting somewhere that's also just feeding video into this thing. The data that's coming in is different. So trying to normalize it before you do sentiment analysis is one of the hardest parts of dealing with IoT stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's really what our product is good at, is being able to bring in different devices out there. So yeah, it's kind of neat.
So with Nuve IoT, you have the ability to take the weird GPS structure that comes from, say, an iPhone, and the equally weird GPS structure that comes from an Android, and then the even weirder structure that comes from like a Zergo device, and bring them all into the platform, and what it spits out is a normalized GPS.
Yeah, and even more to it than just spitting it out, because that's an excellent point, Scott. Thank you for bringing that up. But we have all these different kind of listeners that are pulling the data in, but I only want to write one application. So not only just spitting it out, but I'm taking this data, I'm normalizing it, as you say, and then passing that to my machine learning engine, passing that to my business flow. So I only have to write one application. And if I do get the next crazy GPS device that's hooked up to some XYZ converter thingy, all I have to do is write the converter between that to my normalized format, and all of a sudden it comes online and I can use it with the applications I've always written.
And so you don't have to write and deploy conversion code and hope that everybody's device gets the update, and we know some devices auto update and some don't. So and then you've got just different versions. Zergo is a great example because their different software versions might have different data structures.
And another part that I think is really important, well, there's a couple of things that are important here. One is security, which I definitely want to touch on. But to the point that you're just talking there, let's say that they do release a new Zergo device, they update the firmware on there. Our system has some checks in there, so when the message comes in, it's not just going to blindly try to pull these data out on there. You can put like some regular expressions, if you know what they are, into your kind of code, or into kind of like your translation thingy when you're configuring that, so that if you do have a new Zergo device sending data that you're not expected coming in, it's just not going to blow out your whole database out there. It's going to say that, oh, we got something screwy here, and we're going to dead letter that it's called, so I can rerun that later when I've updated my system with the new translator.
So it looks at it and says, this is an unexpected format.
Right.
I'm going to put this aside and let you know something weird has come in, figure out what to do with it.
Which is an important thing that you need to do, and typically what you would do in that case is, hey, let's create a story out in Jira, and maybe 3 weeks later we might have something we could deploy that has that. But with the product that we created, that's something where we go into just a visualization and say, oh, okay, that's it. And at that point, we can have some testing environments to be able to do that, but at that point, it's just a matter of updating the configuration, either running up in the cloud or even running on-premise, and you're good to go with the new device in a matter of a very short amount of time.
Yeah, way easier than having to publish stuff, and then while you're publishing, data that's coming in might get lost and all that stuff. We don't have any of those concerns here because it's all done through configuration.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Good. So let's talk about security.
Security is a very, very important topic with IoT, and I think it's one that really can't be ignored. The example that you were talking about before with the Arduino and the camera like that, it probably worked good, but there's a whole nother layer that you need to build on top of that for security. So it's just something that whenever we talk to customers about IoT, it really is dependent on their particular type of installation. I mean, there's some type of basics that you're going to need, and it really all starts out with the device. If I can get onto that device and start manipulating its firmware, it's pretty much game over. You have some tokens or some certificates on there. So it really starts out with having security on the device. So again, there are just so many different types of skill sets that you need to bring into play to build an IoT application. Again, it's great
because we don't want a DVR and security camera powered botnet like we had last year.
That's right, exactly. So that's why when we talk to customers, we want to make sure that we're kind of talking end-to-end security and really starting with the device. Once we get into the cloud, I think we have a lot of really, really good solutions there, but really that's where some of the good conversations happen is, you got this new piece of hardware, that's great, it works, but how are we going to make sure that nobody's twiddling with the bits down there? How do we know that nobody's kind of doing a man-in-the-middle attack? Are we transmitting this stuff securely? So it starts there. And once we get to the cloud side, again, the different skill sets, we spent a lot of time up front understanding what security we needed to have on the cloud side, and I think we got that covered, but it's just another part of the equation and the skill sets that you need to bring in place to be able to turn something that's flashing a light on the table into something that's got 20 million devices out there.
Right, exactly. So where in the process of the project are you?
That's a great question. We're actually rolling it out right now. So we've actually kind of had an evolutionary type of approach on this. We've been running it in certain scenarios for about the past year and a half, and I mean, it's powering everything in my house verbatim right now. The message is coming in.
Yes,
so you've seen that. So from the perspective of testing, we've done a lot of testing. We're working with a couple of clients out there. One is Softworks, which I think a lot of your viewers have probably heard of. We're actually meeting with them next month to be able to talk about a project we did last year where we used that and take that into more of a kind of an operational phase. So we're really excited about that. We're working with a company down in St. Pete, and some of the stuff is NDA, so I can't really get into a lot of that.
Of course.
But I mean, we're at a point right now in the product lifecycle where we are ready to run with this. The development is really done, and we're excited about starting to roll this out for some of our customers.
You're getting the Kubernetes stuff in there, a week ago or 10 days ago or something?
Yeah, that was my goal for the end of 2019, was to make sure that by the end of 2019 our product, because our product always ran in a Docker and a containerized environment, but that can only scale so far.
Right.
So my goal for quarter 4 of 2019 was to take
2018. Oh, this is 2019.
Thank you. Yeah, so better would be done by then. Yeah, this has been a crazy event so far. Crazy good. But anyway, so yeah, at the end of 2019, you wanted to have a product running. There you go. By the end, let's try this one more time. By the end of 2018, we wanted to have a product running on Kubernetes into an environment that we knew was ready to take and go live with. And we got the instrumentation in place. We got the scripts. We're pretty much ready to go with the Kubernetes environment with this product.
Very cool.
Yeah.
If people want more information on the platform, how can they get it?
They can get it at www.software-logistics.com. We have a lot of different videos out there, and we have a lot of great content that talks about what the actual product is.
Great. Very cool. Well, Kevin, thank you for coming and talking to me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Scott. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
Have a good rest of the event.
You too. Bye-bye.
There we go. Yeah, so obviously IoT is the future. I think we all know that. I think we've all accepted that Internet of Things is kind of the future of technology. It's even where we are right this second, right? It's the cat litter box is a smart thing now. So it's everything is connected, and smart homes are. I saw a survey that said 40-ish% of homeowners are considering buying a smart home system in 2019 or 2020, which is, that's a huge percentage of people, and all of those things create data, a ridiculous amount of data. We worked on a project a couple of years ago that only had 14,000-ish devices out in the wild, and just on those 14,000 devices, on any given day, we were doing 1.7 trillion calculations just on those 14,000 devices. Now, granted, it was a law enforcement product, and it was geofencing, and so every point that came in, 1,440 points per device, had to be run against all of the geofences in your area. So we calculated it was like 1.7 trillion transactions a day, and that was just 14,000 devices. Now, imagine how many transactions and Amazon Alexa, that system, what that's doing. And, you've got, so you've got the Amazon Alexa Echo. Great, that's fun. Amazon has full control over that. What they don't have full control over is the ones from Altec Lansing and the ones from, all these other manufacturers. And they also don't have control over all of the electrical outlets and smart bulbs and things that go on the other side. All they have control over, Amazon literally has control over about 4 products in their ecosystem, and there are tens of thousands of products in their ecosystem, and they only have control over 4 of them. So,
wow,
right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, how do you deal with the information that comes out of a Johnson Controls glass, the smart thermostat with the incredible screen? How does that can talk to Cortana, Alexa, and Google Assistant? That has its own data structure. How do you deal with that if you're Amazon? Well, you have a system that's able to normalize the data and be able to take in those probably hundreds of millions, just on the Alexa ecosystem, hundreds of millions of transactions a day. That doesn't even count the thermostat every once in a while reporting the temperature so that you can run calculations, right? Is somebody in the house, occupancy sensor. That the glass has occupancy sensor and humidity and temperature and all these things that a normal thermostat doesn't. It produces all kinds of data points, and it's constantly pushing that stuff somewhere. So, if you're Amazon and you're trying to deal with both the glass and the Nest, I guarantee they spit out data in different ways. So how do you deal with that? Well, you normalize the data, and normally it requires writing software. You have to write code to ingest the information, and then each individual thing has its own ingestion settings, and every time you do a new thing, you've got to write new code and publish it, and while it's being published, during however long that takes, any data that's coming in goes away. So, yeah, you lose any information that comes in while it's publishing because the system's down.
Right. And see, an end user doesn't even realize there's that many steps.
Yeah, that any of that stuff is happening. But from a programming standpoint, from somebody who's trying to deploy something like Uber, where you've got all these devices, what does Apple give you versus what does Google give you? Very different information. The structures are very different. So if I can say, go to Nuv IoT, whoop, and it goes, oh, I know what this is. This is an iPhone. And it takes the information and it spits out a converted version. And then Android does the same thing. Here is my thing. And you're like, oh, I know what that is. That's an Android phone. And it converts it differently, but to the same end result. Now the system Uber can deal with all of the, well, how do I figure out who's closest to offer the ride to? What driver should I offer the ride to? And all the things that make them a business, they don't have to deal with any of the road stuff. How does GPS work? Kevin's got that taken care of.
It's a great idea.
Ooh, that wasn't great. Yeah, so it's a really cool product, and I've had the opportunity to work through it and on it. There's an aspect of it where from a mobile device you can actually create virtual hardware. So I can actually mock up the data that would come from a Zergo device. So I can say, it's going to come in JSON, it's going to look like this is what the data looks like, and I can hit test. And when I hit test, it goes to Nuve IoT, and I can watch Nuve IoT do its thing. With the data go through it and all of that stuff, I can watch it, but I can basically create fake versions of the hardware, so I don't have to carry a Zergo GPS thing with me. I can just carry my phone, and I can hit go, and it'll transmit the data. And it can be fake data, it can be real data, but I can just hit go, and it'll go to the system, and I can watch to see that all my configurations are right. Well, I did all of the design on the on the virtual device tester, so that's my current big contribution to the system. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. Since our next guest is not here for whatever reason, what we're going to do is we're going to show you an interview from last year. How does that sound? We're going to show you an interview from Synapse 2018 when it was called the Innovation Summit, and if the guest shows up or when the next guest shows up, we will break in and come back live. So see you shortly.
Our Innovation Summit 2018 coverage is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. Learn about all the included benefits and get a 30-day free trial by going to PLUGHITZLive.com/prime and by audiobooks.com. Get a 30-day trial and a free audiobook to keep by going to audiobooks.com and using promo code TRY70.
We have our first guest here. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
So my name is Byron Clayton. I am the CEO of the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing Institute out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Very cool. And what does your organization do?
So we're a public-private partnership that's been formed by the federal government. So the federal government gave us $80 million to spend over, I know, it's kind of nice to have. They gave us $80 million to spend over 5 years. We're also funded by academia and industry to advance robotics and robotics education.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in what ways do you accomplish that goal?
So right now what we're doing is we actually have project calls. So these are like requests for proposals to advance technology. And the idea is to lower the barriers for adoption. And what I mean by that is that, number one, right now robotics are very expensive for small and mid-sized manufacturers. Yeah. So through technology, we want to lower the costs. We also want to make the robots more versatile, more safe, so that they can actually work with and around people. So when we do those types of things, we're actually lowering the barriers so more people can buy and adopt and use robotics. And when they do that, they become more productive. They can compete better, especially with overseas companies. So their businesses start to grow. They get more jobs in. And of course, if you're going to create more jobs, you need people to fill those jobs. So that's why we also work on creating new career pathways. So we work with universities and community colleges and high schools and technical colleges to really try and figure out innovative ways that we can create these new career pathways so we can fill these jobs.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's something that our group of a couple of organizations here in the STEM Pavilion are all
working toward as well. I know you've obviously been spending time with Greg Serio and Terry Willingham, who have very similar goals. So what brings you to this event?
So what brings me here? I'm going to be speaking at this event, actually at 2 o'clock. But what brings me here, two reasons. So number one, I love Tampa. I'm spilling the beans a little bit here, but my wife and I, we've actually decided that we're going to move here one day.
Okay.
We don't know when that is, but we're definitely going to move here one day.
Okay.
And it's for a lot of reasons. Number one, this is one of the most innovative areas in the country. I don't know if you guys realize that, but you are. When you really look at the manufacturing base, the innovative capacity you have here, and just the fact that you're growing and can attract employees here, this is an amazing place for anybody who's innovative.
Yeah.
And especially the people. So there's this manufacturing renaissance that's starting to happen here in the U.S. What we do from here forward is really going to determine our future. And so we really have to identify those areas that have the capacity to grow, that have the innovative capacity, that have the connections, the networking, the resources, and really work with those areas to help, raise up the whole country. This is one of those areas.
And that's what you're speaking about at this event?
Yes.
That's great.
Okay. Yeah.
And it helps that this area has somebody like Jeff Vinnick. It just so happens that we're at his venue right now, but we have somebody like Jeff Vinnick who recognizes that Tampa is about to see a boom and wants to totally fix downtown with the help of Bill Gates. I mean, you really can't put together much better of a pair.
That's pretty good.
To revitalize downtown.
And I tell you what, companies right now are looking for the talent. They're going to go where the talent happens to be. And so first of all, they're going to look for where's the talent right now, but they're going to also look at, what are the resources there to grow the talent? That's the second thing. The third thing they'll look at is, are people interested in going to that area? I mean, is the area growing? So that'll be the first clue.
Sure.
Those are the areas that they're going to want to come to. Again, you really can't beat what's here in this region.
And you said that you're not from here, so where is the organization based out of?
So the organization is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah.
And it's there because...
And that's where you're from as well?
Well, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
So I'm actually from Cleveland, Ohio. I relocated to Pittsburgh from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I was running...
So you've been all over.
I've been all over, right? Pittsburgh is the home of our institute, primarily because of Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon is it's world famous for the innovative capacity they have there in robotics technology. So that's why we're located there. But we're a membership organization. We have members from around the country, so we're a national organization.
Okay.
But we just happen to be located in Pittsburgh.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So as a member, what kinds of resources would you expect?
So as a member, you have access to a number of different things. So first of all, you have access to project funding. So we're working with FCDI now about, what can we do to help the Tampa area? And what can we do to help them grow and really grow their impact?
Okay.
So project funding is one thing you have access to. The other thing is you have access to our national consortium of innovators. So if you're looking for connections and looking for opportunities, that's where you can find a lot of those things. We are also right now, we're building a new facility. The facility is going to be, there's two parts of what we're going to do. One part is going to be a world-class center of knowledge. So the idea is that you can go to our facility, and it's just like you have a portal to look out across the U.S. on what's new and next in robotics. Nice. So you'll be able to see, well, what's happening in education programs down in Tampa? Which are the really good ones that if I'm from Tampa, I might be interested in, and who do I talk to down there, right?
Sure.
So if I'm a company that's looking to relocate someplace, they may come to our headquarters in Pittsburgh, see what's going on here, and head down here and say, you know what, we're going to talk to Terry and Steve about what's here. The other thing is we'll showcase technology there, so you'll be able to really look at what's happening around the country, what are the things that are new in terms of being introduced to production, and what are the things that are next. And then we're also going to build it's a staging facility. So when you're looking at these new innovations, you really need to get them as close to production as you can, because there's some risk, right, when you first install something new in your plant. So the idea is we're going to build a staging facility that replicates real production work cells and production lines, so that when and we're going to stage that new technology there, so we can go from there directly into production.
So you can help mitigate some of that risk.
Yeah, the risk is a killer, so that's the idea.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was a little bit, I have a question based on how would you present these ideas from around the country or in this facility?
Yep. So there's a few different ways. So number one, through the project things that we do, we're actually funding people to develop some of these things. The other thing is we have 8 regions around the country that we've organized into collaboratives, and those collaboratives have champions. So they're actually letting us know, well, what's out in your region that we can let the whole country know about. And because we have, it's a central footprint, and a lot of our companies are actually, so for instance, we work with companies that are multinational companies.
Okay.
So they have manufacturing plants here in the U.S., but they're multinational companies. So if you have something that you think is innovative, you let us showcase it, then not only are you showcasing to the U.S., you're showcasing to the world. So, those are the types of things that when, it's a real incentive for people to want to show us what they have. And also, keep in mind, we work with so many companies around the country. If you've got something really cool, what better way to showcase it to companies from around the country? And you may find your next big company, your next big customer right there through the connections with ARM.
Wow.
And by the way, Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing, you'll hear me call it ARM.
Yeah.
ARM for short, right?
Okay.
Everything has to have an acronym nowadays.
Sure.
Of course.
And a 3-letter acronym.
Oh, yeah.
We call them TLAs.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah. Somebody said that in a software meeting with me one time.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you don't. Hello again, Internet. I'm Scott with PLUGHITZ Live, and we're still here at Synapse Summit 2019, which is 2019 for those of you who watched the last interview. This year is 2019. Last year was 2018. Kevin, I just had to give you a little razzing on that because that was hysterical. Anyway, we have our next guest here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for the few at this point who don't know who you are.
My name is Terry Willingham, and I am the Executive Director for the Foundation for Community-Driven Innovation.
This might be the first time that we've, 2 interviews in a row, you've had the same title.
I know. It's fun. It's good.
Because usually it's...
And my headphones on right.
Indeed.
Yeah. I had help. But
This time it's Eureka Factory, and the next time it was Regional Director, and we've done 2 in a row.
this is good. I'm going to stay in this one for a while.
This is the right place. So since the last time we talked, big things have happened.
Yes, I
with
have.
FCDI.
We have a space.
Yes.
So we actually have about a 7,500 square foot space over at University Mall in Tampa. A former Champs sportswear store that we're turning into a fabrication lab.
Okay.
So we're very excited about it.
I have spent a lot of time over there.
You're a wonderful partner. You're going to be helping out with some of the spaces over there, so
Yes,
we're very
indeed.
excited about that.
And it really is a great space for anybody who's ever seen a Champs sporting goods store. It's a Champs.
Yeah,
It's what it used to be.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's the size and scale of
It's
a mall
huge.
Champs.
Yeah, it's big, and it used to have a forest of shelving in back for their massive inventory, and so we spent the first few weeks in there, thinning that forest. I was calling them the shelf elves that were coming in, and
it was so bad.
Yeah,
it was so bad.
It actually blocked the lighting in there. You couldn't see anything, and so
Right.
we've got it thinned down to one row that we're looking at repurposing for workbenches and doing some other stuff with right now.
Gotcha.
But we've got room in there now. We've had wonderful donations of equipment and supplies and tables, and we're holding events there right now, and it's coming to life. So it's a lot of fun to see it.
Yeah, for sure. It's been so much fun to see it go from when we went in there before there was anything there.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean it's only been 3 months. I guess we actually got the space in mid-October, or a little bit before that, early October, I guess. And to see how much we've done to it since then has been astounding, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a small crew doing it, but it's nice to have our, you know, we're agile. You know, we can do the things we want to do quickly, and we don't really have to depend on anybody else for it. And the mall, University Mall, has been absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
You know, they've been over backwards to be very welcoming, and they give us the space at an affordable rate for, you know, the first year that we're there.
Right.
To give us an opportunity to, you know, hit the ground running and without, you know, without too much risk. So they've been a phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm going to ask the control room to do me one favor, and that's to turn up the volume on the control room output on the mixer. So no, that's main mix. Control room, I think is this. I think it's this. Again, I think that's main mix that you're messing with. It's the one that says control room. I think it's the second one. Yeah, that's the one. Hey,
hello.
Our headphones are back.
Yay.
That won't affect what people outside hear. That only affects what's in my head.
Okay, good news. Because it was bad out there.
Yeah, main mix is what they hear. Control room is what we hear over here. So
I can hear you now.
yeah, it's great. It's not mime work
Michelle's
anymore.
in my head. Okay.
Hi, Terry.
Oh.
So we're sitting here at Synapse Summit. Last night,
Yeah.
you held an event in the space.
We held an event in the space. It was actually the ARM Regional Workshop. The ARM Institute is an organization that we're a member of. It's the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing Institute. It's one of 14 Manufacturing USA institutions. That one was started at Carnegie Mellon. They're headquartered up in Pittsburgh. And we became members last year, and their mission is to assist small to medium-sized manufacturers and related suppliers and things like that with you know, automation needs and keeping them on the cutting edge of having all the latest technologies to make them efficient and productive and, you know, profitable.
And if you're watching live, we were just running the interview from last year with the CEO, with Byron. So you probably have a better idea of the organization from that conversation. But one of the things that I thought was interesting about the presentation last night was the talk about especially with the collaborative robots, how quickly that pays for itself.
Right.
I think they said if you only run it like 200 hours a month or something like that, it pays itself back in 4 to 6 months.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a crazy quick turnaround.
How quickly that's going to actually escalate even from where it is today. And so, you know, talking about the Industry 4.0 and Industry 5.0 kind of stuff, where you're looking at all these collaborative technologies where people are working side by side with robots, you know, to accomplish tasks faster and more efficiently with the, you know, the robot's ability to do repetitive tasks and the human's ability to do the creative and, and you know, on the job, you know, on the spot thinking portions of it.
Being able to design what the CNC machine is going to do versus loading the material into the CNC machine to do the thing.
Exactly.
That was the example from last night
and
that I liked.
was really good, yeah. So, you know, to our purposes, you know, it's part of the things that, you know, that people in the 21st century, you know, new jobs and new career pathways are going to need to understand and learn about and know. And so obviously working with the FIRST Robotics community, those kids are already on the path to learning those things. It's already an introductory pathway. The new FRC game, FIRST Robotics Competition game this year, is actually using the vision processing for part of the
vision.
game. So, you know, the kids are already being introduced at the high school level to the technologies they're going to be using in their careers. And so if we can expand on that with the Fab Lab, where they're doing the robotics programming and then they're working with professionals in the community to find real-world applications of what they're learning, you know, it's, you know, you got that nice pipeline.
Yes,
which
for
is
sure.
what we've really been trying to push for a long time.
Yeah, which is kind of where the concept originated from, was creating that pipeline from school to concept to even like working with organizations to help with apprenticeships and stuff like that.
I'm glad the rest of the world's catching on. So I'm excited about that because it was a lonely walk for a long time. And not that other people didn't get it. A lot of people were on that lonely walk and, you know, on their own paths. But, you know, it's really fun to start hearing people say, you know, we have to have a seamless pathway, a career, you know, a pipeline from youth into the trades. Like, yeah, great idea. So, you know, come on over and do that with us. And it's like, oh, are you doing that? It's like, yes, we are.
Yes.
So, you know, we're getting a lot of inquiries here. A lot of people are coming by the booth. They're
That's
really
good.
interested in what we have some slide decks running of the space under development. You know, a lot of people are coming by and say, what can you do there? It's like, well, what do you want to do there? You know, and so we're flipping that question. What do you want to do there? So right now, until we formally open in the summer, we're inviting people to come out and use the space, you know, see how it serves your needs and your interests, and what would be better. You know, and so, you know, the USF source students just came by and said they were really interested. It's like, I said, what do you guys need? It's like, we really need a CNC metal machine. It's like, milling machine. It's like, we'll work on that. So, you know, this is a multi-phase out thing. But,
Right.
you know, some of these needs we can meet fairly quickly, and some we'll have to, you know, work on. So.
Yeah, we won't have it for you on Thursday.
Right,
but
exactly.
but we can work together,
right.
too.
We do have a broken laser cutter you can play with, but that's, you know.
Yeah, indeed. and obviously you're working on relationships with organizations to help with programming and funding and stuff like that,
right.
too.
So I was just down talking to Magic Leap folks this morning, and we're looking at some ways we can, you know, around providing professional development around that product and how they're using it in education. Obviously, I work with SoftWorks, working with the first robotics students, and they're mentoring back into that.
Last night we were talking with SolidWorks about stuff.
Yep, SolidWorks. So there, you know, there's a lot of collaborative potential.
Yeah.
And you know, once we get past that sense of people feeling that everything is competitive versus collaborative, then we can really make some impact.
Yeah, for sure.
And
that's definitely always the problem, right? Is you can be competitive with one another. That's actually great,
right?
Because with that competition comes new ideas,
right? Yeah.
But you know, not feeling like you're constantly fighting against, but instead working together for.
Right, and they actually mentioned that a little bit last night as well. There was a brief discussion about it, but when I had been gone to Greenville at Arms Invitation, we saw a lot of that going on, where companies that were normally competitive would be collaborating for certain portions of what they needed to do together, you know, so they could outsource stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. that makes sense that you would be that even as manufacturers, like as a group of manufacturers,
right?
You know, I only need a thing for so many hours a month, and you only need it for a certain number of hours a month.
Right.
But together, we can fill a month. You know, farmers do that kind of stuff all the time.
That's
a couple
true.
of farms together will lease a tractor instead of each one owning it, because why?
Exactly, yeah. And especially when you're looking at this type of a conference where you're talking about, you know, innovation lives here. And there's an enormous amount of innovation in Tampa Bay. Getting all those innovators to work together sometimes can be challenging. And, you know, Synapse does a good job of trying to bring them all to the table and to see what everybody's doing and, you know, sort of complement each other.
Yeah.
And showcase that, because you get a lot further if you, you know, go together and show the world what you got.
Yeah.
So I think this is an exciting platform for showing all of that.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
You know, our goal next year is to come with a booth of all the things that were made at the Fab Lab. You know,
and that's the other side of it. It's not just the educational path on one side; it's the business path on the other. Being able to go from, you know, having an idea for a thing to prototyping to building to maybe even
and have some retail there as well.
If one of the relationships works out, being able to get certified into Indiegogo and then, you know, get funding that way and be able to get to market. You know, that's the other side of the facility, which is a concept that I've always liked.
And I think that's wonderful. I mean, one of the things we're doing is beta testing with Tony Salvaggio of eSmart Recycling, an entrepreneurship program for kids. So he wants to do that this summer, where they come up with an idea, design it, and sell it.
I've always liked that idea. We've got, you know, some of the classes in schools do that kind of thing where you come up with a thing, you build it, design it, and build it and sell it at the school. But that's not quite the same thing as, you know, actually designing and building a product with somebody like Tony.
Yeah. I think I've lost my voice.
Oh no! You just coughed your voice away.
I did. It's terrible.
Well, the timing on that is good because we're just about out of time. So I don't know.
I've now become Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, apparently. So if people want to find out,
cold. Disclaimer. Yeah,
we all are.
You can disinfect this microphone afterwards. Yeah.
If people want to find out more about AMROC and things like that, how can they do that?
AMROC.com. AMROCTampaBay.com. No .net. I got confused. It's AMROCTampaBay.com. or ffcdi.net.
Very cool. Well, as always,
I'm a mess now.
yeah, .org. .net is all the other sites.
Yes, it is. It is.
But
so.
AMROC is .com and
Right,
FCDI is.
And so I know you'll get it right for us. So
Yeah,
I
no
appreciate
problem.
it. Sorry about falling apart there at the end, but I'm all
happens.
excited and talking to people.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's awesome.
That's how these conferences go.
I'll wear my
do a
Green
lot
Kermit outfit next time when I do this. Yeah.
we do a lot of talking at these conferences, and so
so
losing your voice is not uncommon.
And it's just day one, so I can't wait till tomorrow. So I know. All right. Well, thank you for having me on. And
Of course.
And I appreciate it. And you guys do great work, and you help get the word out. So thank you.
You're absolutely welcome.
All right.
Talk to you later, Terry. All righty. So Tony Salvaggio did not show up for his interview. So. Oh, that could be. So, yeah. So obviously, if you're a long-time viewer of our special events program, you're aware of the stuff that Terry's been working on. I'm getting some signals from off camera. I will be back with you in just a moment. If are you going to talk to me?
Yeah, I think we'll take another quick break so we can. There's still a little bit of audio issues on the live stream.
Okay.
We get those fixed.
Okay. And so, if you're watching live, you may occasionally hear the video and us over top while we're testing the audio to make sure everything is right for you. So, just a warning, you're going to see a video and you might occasionally hear us talk over top of it. So, ignore us.
And we'll go back to the Dr. Clayton video already in progress.
Our Innovation Summit 2018 coverage is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. Learn about all the included benefits and get a 30-day free trial by going to PLUGHITZlive.com/prime and by audiobooks.com. Get a 30-day trial and a free audiobook to keep by going to audiobooks.com and using promo code TRY70.
We have our first guest here. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
So my name is Byron Clayton. I am the CEO of the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing Institute out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Very cool. And what does your organization do?
So we're a public-private partnership that's been formed by the federal government. So the federal government gave us $80 million to spend over, I know, it's kind of nice to have. They gave us $80 million to spend over 5 years. We're also funded by academia and industry to advance robotics and robotics education.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in what ways do you accomplish that goal?
So right now what we're doing is we actually have project calls. So these are like requests for proposals to advance technology. And the idea is to lower the barriers for adoption. And what I mean by that is that, number one, right now robotics are very expensive for small and mid-sized manufacturers.
Yeah.
So through technology, we want to lower the cost. We also want to make the robots more versatile, more safe, so that they can actually work with and around people. So when we do those types of things, we're actually lowering the barriers so more people can buy and adopt and use robotics. And when they do that, they become more productive. They can compete better, especially with overseas companies. So their businesses start to grow. They get more jobs in. And of course, if you're going to create more jobs, you need people to fill those jobs. So that's why we also work on creating new career pathways. So we work with universities and community colleges and high schools and technical colleges to really try and figure out innovative ways that we can create these new career pathways so we can fill these jobs.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's something that our group of a couple of organizations here in the STEM Pavilion are all working toward as well. I know you've obviously been spending time with Greg Serio and Terry Willingham, who have very similar goals. So what brings you to this event?
So what brings me here? I'm going to be speaking at this event. Nice. Actually at 2 o'clock. But what brings me here, two reasons. So number one, I love Tampa. I'm spilling the beans a little bit here, but my wife and I, we've actually decided that we're going to move here one day.
Okay.
We don't know when that is, but we're definitely going to move here one day.
Okay.
And it's for a lot of reasons. Number one, this is one of the most innovative areas in the country. I don't know if you guys realize that, but you are. When you really look at the manufacturing base, the innovative capacity you have here, and just the fact that you're growing and can attract employees here, this is an amazing place for anybody who's innovative.
Yeah.
And especially the people, so there's this manufacturing renaissance that's starting to happen here in the U.S. What we do from here forward is really going to determine our future. And so we really have to identify those areas that have the capacity to grow, that have the innovative capacity, that have the connections, the networking, the resources, and really work with those areas to help, raise up the whole country. This is one of those areas.
And that's what you're speaking about at this event?
Yes.
That's great.
Okay. Yeah.
And it helps that this area has somebody like Jeff Vinnick. It just so happens that we're at his venue right now, but we have somebody like Jeff Vinnick who recognizes that Tampa is about to see
Testing,
a boom
1, 2, 3,
and wants to totally
testing,
fix
1, 2,
downtown
3.
with
Hopefully
the help
this
of Bill
isn't
Gates.
peaking in
I mean,
audition. I'm talking a
you
lot
really can't
to make
put
sure
together
it's not
much better of a
peaking in
pair
audition.
That's pretty good.
To
Yeah, you can't
revitalize
beat
downtown.
That. And I tell you what, companies right now are looking for the talent. They're going to go where the talent happens to be. And so first of all, they're going to look for where's the talent right now, but they're going to also look at, what are the resources there to grow the talent? That's the second thing. The third thing they'll look at is, are people interested in going to that area? I mean, is the area growing? So that'll be the
Testing, 1,
first
2,
clue.
3.
Sure. Those
Am
are
I
the areas
peaking
that
in
they're going to want to
audition?
come to.
Hopefully
Again,
we're not getting
you really can't
flatlined.
beat
It should be
what's
moving
here in this
perfectly
region.
without
And you
any
said
problems.
that you're not from here, so where is the organization
Yellow is
based
okay.
So the organization is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Then
Okay.
go ahead
and
and turn me
it's
off.
there because,
And that's where you're from as well?
well, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
So I'm actually from Cleveland, Ohio. I relocated to Pittsburgh from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So I was running.
So you've been all over.
I've been all over, right? Pittsburgh is the home of our institute, primarily because of Carnegie Mellon. Carnegie Mellon is it's world famous for the innovative capacity they have there in robotics technology. So that's why we're located there. But we're a membership organization. We have members from around the country, so we're a national organization.
Okay.
But we just happen to be located in Pittsburgh.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, as a member, what kinds of resources would you expect?
So as a member, you have access to a number of different things. So first of all, you have access to project funding. So we're working with FCDI now about, okay, what can we do to help the Tampa area? And what can we do to, to help them grow and really grow their impact?
Okay.
So project funding is one thing you have access to. The other thing is you have access to our national consortium of innovators. So if you're looking for connections and looking for opportunities, that's where you can find a lot of those things. We are also right now, we're building a new facility. The facility is going to be, there's two parts of what we're going to do. One part is going to be a world-class center of knowledge. So the idea is that you can go to our facility, and it's just like you have a portal to look out across the U.S. on what's new and next in robotics. Nice. So you'll be able to see, well, what's happening in education programs down in Tampa? Which are the really good ones that if I'm from Tampa, I might be interested in, and who do I talk to down there, right?
Sure.
So if I'm a company that's looking to relocate someplace, they may come to our headquarters in Pittsburgh, see what's going on here, and head down here and say, you know what, we're going to talk to Terry and Steve about what's here. The other thing is we'll showcase technology there, so you'll be able to really look at what's happening around the country, what are the things that are new in terms of being introduced to production, and what are the things that are next. And then we're also going to build it's a staging facility. So when you're looking at these new innovations, you really need to get them as close to production as you can, because there's some risk, right, when you first install something new in your plant. So the idea is we're going to build a staging facility that replicates real production work cells and production lines, so that when and we're going to stage that new technology there, so we can go from there directly into production.
So you can help mitigate some of that risk.
Yeah, the risk is a killer, so that's the idea.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was a little bit. I have a question based on how would you present these ideas from around the country to or in this facility?
Yep. So there's a few different ways. So number one, through the project things that we do, we're actually funding people to develop some of these things. The other thing is we have 8 regions around the country that we've organized into collaboratives, and those collaboratives have champions. So they're actually letting us know, well, what's out in your region that we can let the whole country know about. And because we have, it's a central footprint, and a lot of our companies are actually, so for instance, we work with companies that are multinational companies.
Okay.
So they have manufacturing plants here in the U.S., but they're multinational companies. So if you have something that you think is innovative, you let us showcase it, then not only are you showcasing to the U.S., you're showcasing to the world. So, those are the types of things that when, it's a real incentive for people to want to show us what they have. And also, keep in mind, we work with so many companies around the country. If you've got something really cool, what better way to showcase it to companies from around the country? And you may find your next big company, your next big customer right there through the connections with ARM.
Wow.
And by the way, Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing, you'll hear me call it ARM.
Yeah.
ARM for short, right?
Okay.
Everything has to have an acronym nowadays.
Sure.
Of course.
And a 3-letter acronym.
Oh, yeah.
We call them TLAs.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah. Somebody said that in a software meeting with me one time.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you don't know that TLA? I don't know that one. 3-letter acronym. Oh, get out. We can't be friends anymore. That's.
Well, it stuck with you, so.
Oh, yeah. It definitely stuck.
And now I'm going to spread it too, so. It's like a tune that gets stuck in your head, right?
Exactly.
That or it's like a cancer in the industry. One or the other. So the idea is that it's kind of like a showroom.
Yeah.
Which is a concept that obviously is a successful one, or
Yep.
you wouldn't have
Yep.
this going on behind us here.
Yeah. And one of the things that, at a lot of showrooms, what you have are people that, they're selling things, right? So they want to show what they have. It's been real difficult here in this country when people are working on something that is next, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something very innovative. Companies tend to be, I don't really want to show that.
Yeah.
And so part of our mission is to really work with those companies and say, you know what, this helps everybody. It's really important to share some of the things you have. It helps you. It helps everybody. Let's work together to do that.
Make it a collaborative effort.
Exactly. It's what other countries have done, and it's one of the reasons. So I'm an old guy. I started working back in the 70s and 80s. I saw a lot of our jobs go from here overseas. I was part of that. I got laid off because of a lot of that was going on in the 80s. We need to compete better, and one of the reasons that those jobs left is because of collaboration that happened, and rightly so. They should have done it. They got together with public-private partnerships, and their governments funded certain types of technologies, and they got really good at it. A lot of those technologies actually came from us. We invented it.
Sure.
They took it, put it into place, and honestly beat our brains out with it, right? And sold it back to us.
Sure.
So we need to get better at implementation. We need to get better at collaboration, and that's what this whole effort is for. And we're not the only organization. The federal government funded 14 of these manufacturing institutes. So there's 14 all around the country. Everybody has a different focus in advanced manufacturing. Ours just happens to be robotics, and we all work together.
That's great.
Yeah.
So this new facility that we're talking about, what kind of a timeline?
We're going to move in April of 2019.
Okay.
Yep. So it's
hello, Internet.
Ground, and
once again, I'm Scott. Welcome back to the live stream. I want to apologize for the strange audio problems that we've been having on the live show today. We haven't quite been able to figure out why everything is working different today than it ever has before, but if you know anything about technology, you know to expect the unexpected. So it is what it is. It looks like we've got it all fixed now. Hopefully now that we're going for sure, somebody in the control room will jump on Facebook and or YouTube and verify that the volume sounds good. But I believe that it should, because you heard me talk over the last video and it didn't sound crazy. So that was a huge change from earlier. I apologize. But with that, our next guest is here. Hello.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Sure. I'm Bryce Huffman. I'm the owner and operator of Huffco 3D design and printing company. And I'm also the production coordinator here at Amalie Arena, Tampa Bay Lightning. So if you've ever been here, seen a hockey game, or seen a concert here in the building, then you've seen my work here on the concourses as well.
This is, okay, so I apologize to those of you watching the interview. I have to ask a bit of a personal question. You're in the Stagehand Humor group on Facebook, aren't you?
That I am.
Yeah, because you posted photos of the control room after you tore it apart.
Yep, that's me, yep. I got 16 screens now in front of me in my desk. That's me.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure out how to see that
we'll
before.
Bring you up there. We can get some pictures and stuff. We'll get it all up here, too, for you guys.
I've been jealous of that since you posted the pictures in the group. 6 months, 9 months.
Close to over a year ago now.
Oh, yeah.
That's been a while, yeah.
I almost commented on it. I'm like, no, you know what? They're going to give me crap in the group for doing that.
Yeah, plenty of people like that stuff. It's fine.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so for the arena, all of the screens that you're seeing around us here, these are all you.
Yes, correct.
All of the ribbons and everything inside the arena, that's all you.
Correct.
And then how much of what leaves the arena is you?
We typically have trucks come in and they run their own broadcasts. So like Fox Sun Sports will come in with a broadcast truck.
Sure.
And same with Canadian teams. Canadian teams will bring in their own broadcast truck. And if they want any of our shots, we'll give them some of our cameras, some of our feeds.
Okay.
But typically, we're not sending anything outside of our building.
Okay.
We produce our own show in-house, so everything in-house is all done by us.
Okay.
And,
so when we see like the between
the pipes?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. So all that's us in-house
Okay.
doing that. And even during All-Star Game last year, we were lucky enough to have the All-Star Game here in-house. And they were the first time they ever allowed the in-house crew to manage the show. So we actually produced and ran all the technical side. And usually they bring in their own whole crew.
Sure.
For that, but we were honored that they let us do that, and they were very happy. So that's one of the main reasons we were able to get. You can't see them in this shot, obviously, but we have these new beautiful 22-foot LED walls that are 1.9 millimeter pitch. So if you know anything about LEDs, you know that's super high definition.
Yeah,
It looks great.
The AMROC, the FCDI that was on just before, is stationed right in front of one of those screens that's out of frame here. It's actually my view all day is of one of those screens, and it's jealousy-inducing for sure.
That's at 20% strength right now, so it could burn your irises out if we crank that thing up. Yeah, that's bright already.
That's
right
at 20% strength?
20% LED strength right there, and that's enough to light up the concourse.
Goodness, yeah. Last year when we were here for Synapse, Michelle and I were trying to figure out how to distract everybody long enough just to get that ring screen down from over there. But, yeah, this year it's definitely that big screen.
Yep.
So that's new since last year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually, we brought that in just in time for the All-Star game. And so that's also actually tied in with our IPTV system that you see throughout the building. So it's got multiple inputs there, and then they're just layered out on top of each other.
Yeah, one of the things that I've always been impressed about here is how the screens are never, like there's never one having a stroke or anything like that. It's all the screens are always stable. The pictures are always crisp.
Thank you.
And even in this is an expensive arena, but it's nothing compared to, say, the Bucks, right?
Sure,
and
right. They have the money. They got extra money. They get a little extra with football.
And county funding.
Yeah.
But when even there, screens will stroke out a little bit and things like that. And I've always been impressed here.
Well, you can thank my OCD mostly for that. That's every day I do my round. I check out every single screen in the building for every event. So if anything's having any sort of issue, I make sure that I get up there with a ladder and I inspect it first. So, and I've always got a workaround for something. So I can't let anything be dark in my building when I'm in charge of it.
That's definitely kind of the curse of our industry.
It is.
Is that I can't. Well, you've always got a backup, and you can't let anything to chance.
Correct. Yep. I was at Atlanta Airport 2 days ago, and I would say half their digital displays weren't working, and just stuff like that just absolutely kills me. And but then I bring it on myself. I'm like, well, if I'm going to judge other people like that, then I better not have a single screen down ever.
Yeah. It feels bad to judge somebody else's setup if you know that yours is in the same vein.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got to be fair. You got to be fair.
Absolutely. So how long have you been doing that?
So I've been here with Amalie Arena for over 4.5 years now, and I originally started when at the lowest level I could possibly be here, like below even a stagehand. So I was pushing carts around, helping set up stages, stuff like that. Worked my way up into the AV side of things, where I was doing setups like just smaller productions, sort of like this, where I was running streams, remote streams, and broadcasting rookie tournaments and stuff like that. And then eventually made my way up to the control room, and where they gave me the IPTV system. We put 700 screens in the building. We put them all on IPTV. And that was my job, to build the system, bring it to life. And
700 screens.
Correct, yep.
Wow.
This concourse floor alone, I think, has about 300 of them. So. And you haven't seen the functionality yet. We also have functionality here where these 3 screens across, you'll see all the way around the arena, they all have content that maps across all 3 of them as well. So a single graphic being displayed across all 3 of those at the same time as well, which not a lot of arenas have that, actually.
Yeah.
It's a pretty unique capability still. So it requires a lot to do on the back end.
That's pretty cool. I like that. We were here, the director of the FCDI, who was on before you, she won the Lightning Grant.
Oh, okay, great.
6 months ago or something like that. And so, we all got to come hang out, I think, at the Jable Suite. And,
the Community Hero.
Yeah, that's it, the Community Hero
Great, that's awesome.
So, when we host Roboticon over at the Sun Dome or whatever they call it now, we are responsible for all of that stuff.
Right.
And so I was just counting how many panels just on the ribbon bar, and at some point I gave up. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to be in charge.
Good luck.
I just don't want to be in charge of the ribbon bar, let alone 700 plus screens.
It's luckily they're under warranty for another month, so I don't have to worry about it for another month. So after that, it becomes completely my responsibility. Then it's an issue, but no. These newer Daktronic LEDs have really cool technology in them where they are only seated in place on the wall with magnets on the back. So you don't need to unscrew or anything. You literally just pop them out from the other tiles. They're very delicate, small LEDs, so you have to be careful when you're doing it. But there's no extra tools required. You literally pop it open. There's ribbon cables on the back. Working with the ribbon cables. You need to reseat something. You reseat something pretty easy.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the only issue is people that want to think they're a touch screen for some reason and will come up and occasionally stick their thumbnail into the little tiny LEDs. So I've had to deal with that from time to time. You'll see a little batch out, and that's usually from that.
Why anybody would think that's
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
People are fascinating. So you started with 2 different things.
Correct.
So we've talked about the arena.
Right.
What's the other side of things?
So I also have my own 3D printing design company called Huffco 3D. So they're on Facebook. Huffco 3D. It's a space between Huffco and 3D. And we also are starting our Instagram tomorrow. We have a lot of presence we're starting to build up online. Huffco3D.com also exists already. Just starting to put the store together on that site.
Okay.
But I've designed some camera stuff, some stuff for companies. Mostly like my biggest design right now that I've done is a full 3D printed camera rig where it's carbon fiber tubing, and then you have your 3D printed parts that actually combine the carbon fiber tubing to a fully modular camera rig. So any sort of shoulder rigs, it's the lightest rig on the market because there's not a single piece of aluminum on it. Everything from the thumb screws to the pads are all designed by me in CAD, and then just printed out and put together. So that's my main feature product, but I'm paying the bills right now by doing stuff for smaller companies and clients where it's stuff like cookie cutters for their logo, or we do stuff like golf ball markers, so you can have your logo extruded onto a little semicircle, and then you're able to put your logo on a golf ball or give it to other clients.
Your gain is super up.
I need that in my life, though. We need to talk later.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've got cards right here for you guys. Oh, I got some little trinkets for you guys as well.
I love trinkets.
Oh, yeah, for sure. These are just super simple little things that I give out. They just have my phone number on them and my business name. Go on your keychain. But the nice thing about them is it is a nice little phone kickstand. So now phone stands up like that. You go, I got that for all you guys. So that's
Okay.
easy. I can print these out, put anyone's logo on it, put anyone's name, put their phone number
So
on
I
them.
think
Very
PLUGHITZ
easy.
Okay,
Live would look great on one of those.
Oh yeah, we can do that for you, no problem.
I think we may have just become best friends
Oh,
here.
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
and we'll definitely have to make sure that you get to know Terry
Sure.
over there.
Sure.
She's in the middle.
Oh.
Nope. She's in the middle of the next section over
Gotcha.
there.
Okay.
We'll make sure somebody connects you and Terry.
That'd be great.
Because
Absolutely.
she's working on a space
Sure.
over at University
Oh,
Mall,
okay.
like a makerspace and Fab
Oh, that'd be
Lab.
great.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'd love 3D printing technician. I mean, I'm huge in the 3D printing community as well when it comes to troubleshooting stuff online.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of the Facebook groups, you'll see me a part of those as well because I've delved into it so much that I've seen pretty much 99% of the issues 3D printer can throw at you. So I'm pretty good at diagnosing them remotely as well. So anyone who has any issues with them, please go ahead and send me a message. Send a message to HuffCo and reach out to us. We'll help you out too.
That's great. See, and that's the thing that I like about conferences like this, right? Is I mean, yes, talking about the arena stuff is great, and I definitely want to see upstairs later.
For sure.
But the idea that what you're doing and what Terry's doing are so connected, and there's Chris over here has got a rocket. Thing where he's built modular rocket pieces, all 3D printed.
I saw those. They look really cool. Yeah.
So, the connection of all this interesting and unique stuff is the best part of something like Synapse.
Oh, and I love the part where 3D printing is just becoming every industry as well now. So you have it not only in STEM, you also have it in, you have in aerospace. You have it in medical technology, dental. Yep. I'm getting SLA and DLP printers now, which are the resin printers, which are super fine detail, which are what you use for like moldings for teeth and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I have my end goal is to eventually get into the biomedical printing and aerospace manufacturing industry.
Wow.
So that's my end game because with additive manufacturing, I now have the ability to print with 4 different materials at the same time, whether that be different colors, dissolvable supports. If you know 3D printing, you know what dissolvable supports probably already. If you not, look it up. It's pretty interesting, but get into the weeds. But
it's definitely a fascinating concept.
Yeah. And the ability to print with 4 different materials, so you have a hard, a flexible, 2 different colors. You can print a final product now. 3D printing was always limited by having one material, so one plastic, a prototyping material. But now you can print full complex designs and full products now in a single moment, which is where the industry is going, and eventually it's all anyone's going to need at their house to print their stuff from Amazon anyway. So I see like maybe 10, 15 years, but I feel like 3D printing is becoming like a new .com boom, where it's just Wild West right now.
Yeah,
anyone
for
can
sure.
go anywhere with it, and anyone will be able to make money on it if they know what they're doing and if they have a drive to do so.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if people want more information about what it is that you've been working on, how can they get it?
So you can reach us on Facebook at HuffCo3D, or you can also reach me at HuffCo3D.com, and bhuffman@HuffCo3D is my personal email. You can always reach out to me there as well. If you have any questions or need any help with 3D printing in general, just please contact me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming and talking to me today.
Thank you so much.
Make sure that somebody out there has the ability to contact
Absolutely.
you after
I'll
we
hand
get off
everyone
the
out the
air
goodies
so
and-
we can.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because
Here,
I
you got
definitely
yours?
want to see.
Make sure you got that on your phone, too.
Fantastic.
Get that for you guys.
Fantastic. And that's Terry.
Terry?
In the blue.
Terry. All right, I'm going to say hi to Terry.
So we're going to
For sure.
make sure you get connected.
I'll give you my card, too, so you can come up to the control room. You can shoot me a message whenever you want.
Fantastic.
And then, come on up. I'll be here all day.
We'll let him take care of it
Okay,
for
sure,
me.
yeah. Here you go, man.
All right.
Yeah, thanks,
Cool.
man. Have a
We'll
good
talk
one.
to you
Take
later.
care. See you later.
700 plus screens. That's ridiculous. That is a lot of screens. The 8 that we take care of at the Sun Dome is like 8 too many.
Yes. 700.
And the idea that these are 3 screen arrays that are over your head right now, that those arrays can be done as an array, that you can do one graphic across the 3 screens. I don't know of any other arenas that have that capability.
No.
So
And I would love to play with that someday.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that we're gonna get to go see the control room later is. I'm so excited. So at the beginning of the interview, I asked a question, and a couple of us are in a comedy group on Facebook, a stagehand humor group, which basically deals with the weirdnesses and the mistakes of our industry, like the poor thing that happened to our audio earlier. And so, OSHA violations and stuff like that. But from time to time, people will do like brag posts, and he did one about a year ago.
Oh, yeah?
Because he had torn the whole upstairs apart between seasons. He had literally tore the entire room apart. He did before and after posts, and before there were a couple of different size screens, and some of them were here, and then there's some on the table. And when he was done, it's all mounted. There's 16 screens. He can see the whole setup. In all the screens are the same model. They're all mounted correctly. It's total. So the before and after were totally different, and so he had posted that a year ago in the stagehand group, and he said it was at Amelie, and I'm like, I should contact him. He'll think I'm crazy. I'm not going to contact him. What a weird thing to do. There's no way I'm doing that. That's going to come across weird. So it was fun to ask, did you post that? Oh yeah, that was me.
That's awesome. Your name and everything. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I got to see photos of upstairs, but I have not gotten to see upstairs just yet. So
cool.
I'm excited.
A quick procedural question for you while we have a moment.
Sure.
I believe that you scheduled a 3 o'clock. You told someone to come back at 3 o'clock.
Something like that.
So 3 o'clock is already taken for the rest of my control room guys.
Yeah. And Tony Salvaggio is going to come after his panel to finish up 115. To try again for his 115. He's doing a panel right now, and I told him we'd fit him in however we could.
Okay.
So
it might be tight. We're waiting on the gentleman from USF Muma College of Business.
Okay.
And then Shane Brown.
Okay. That's the one that Lauren was telling us about last night, that she was going out of her way to make sure it was part of this.
Right. So they're probably getting caught up at their booths.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah, it happens. We should almost certainly add a phone number to our sign-up process as a required field, so we can
30 minutes out, 15 minutes out.
And I can automate all that too.
Yeah, Adam and I were just discussing that actually.
We can do when we build the new system. We'll include all that stuff in the new system. There's all kinds of stuff for the new system that I want to build.
Cool.
What were you gesturing at? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, she can.
Hey, actually, hang on 1 second.
So, one of the things, like we talk about at shows like Collision, one of the things about an event like this is the chaos, right? Most of the people who have scheduled time with us are running booths. They're looking for, they're looking for partners and customers and, all of this. And so, if they're talking to an investor or a possible customer or something like that, it's not unusual for them to get caught up in what they're doing, forget about what time it is. And so that's why our show here is a little more flexible than it might normally be, because chaos. And it's just the name of the game at a trade show like this is that, it's craziness. Booths get busy. People forget they have panels. There's all kinds of stuff. So hopefully we will see more of the people. Okay, good. Tony said that he'd see us after his panel. So it's just kind of freewheeling. The schedule is unfortunately more of a suggestion for us than it is a hard and fast rule, although I would love for it to be a hard and fast rule. Obviously, if you're watching live, one of the things that we always want is that we want...
We're going to put her on. We're going to put Dara on.
You're on. Is that... interesting. I have no idea where I was going with that. I've totally lost it. Oh yeah, I would like a more set schedule, but it's chaos. It is what it is. We deal with what we get, and from time to time we get the opportunity to just snag an attendee as they're walking by or standing by the booth. And that is exactly what has happened because our next guest is here. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm amazing. Thank you for asking.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for people who didn't watch Collision.
Okay, my name is Dara Randall, and I have a commission-based brand ambassador company. So essentially, you can get a program off of our campaigns and create a gig economy for yourself by giving out free things. So our clients are Uber, Lyft, and audiobooks. We also have home repair matching, where essentially you can generate leads and appointments, or just get people to try out things for free and make money getting people to try out free things.
And so if you watched our Collision coverage and you know Dara already, you noticed that at the beginning of our Collision videos, we mentioned audiobooks.com.
Hi.
And that's that is where that relationship came from.
Yes.
Is through Dara. So
yeah. So essentially, you can put your codes anywhere and have another stream of income. It could be on your website, or even if you're not somebody who's very online savvy or wants to promote online. I talked to somebody who gave me a 10-minute tangent about why she hates Instagram, and which is great. I mean, you can have all the feelings. But if you just want to promote offline and not be in the digital world, this is a great way to be an influencer in person and still generate as much income, if not more, because I've been speaking to a lot of influencers lately that pretty much only get t-shirts or, you know, swag. And this you can actually make a lot of money with. We get people making an average of $50 an hour, giving out free audiobooks or even handing out free Uber and Lyft rides. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. You know, obviously online affiliate stuff has been around since the beginning of online.
Yeah, since the 90s at least.
But the idea of being able to do it in person, to go from where we are, to go to Ybor.
Yeah.
Right? Or to be here at Synapse and give out, you know, Lyft codes, because Lyft has a deal with the convention right now, where they're giving a discount, but combine that with a new customer perk, and you could really...
Yeah, you could really be getting a lot of consumers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different strategies that you can incorporate into your world with giving out different free items, and we are working with getting products as well, so you could give out free samples of products, be like, hey, do you guys want to try this sample? And we're working on tracking it.
Yes. Yes, we are.
We're working on tracking for giving out free samples and free products for people to experiment with and try out, and giving commentary on. So you could get paid per free sample you give out of a product and a brand as well.
And so since the last time we talked on air, you and I talk semi-frequently, but since the last time we talked on air...
Not frequently enough, darling.
you have added some stuff to the platform, like self-reporting and stuff like that. At least for audiobooks.
Yeah, since last time we talked, we have a way for people to track their own conversions. And, you know, the funny thing to me is, like, you talked about a little bit earlier about how this was online for a really long time, since the 90s, and now we're taking it offline. The hurdle that I'm having is explaining to people that actually this really started offline, like door knockers, people trying to get their products in person. So we've just created growth for something that took growth to online market, and we took the strategy that was essentially brought to the online world and took that same type of strategy and brought it back to offline and in-person networking for the growth of brands.
Right, because, you know, we all know Cutco.
Yeah, yeah. Or
right?
the knives, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, Cutco and things like that, and I think we're all familiar with those. Yeah, right? Vacuums is another long-time example of it. But you're bringing kind of a similar concept to almost offline capability to online products, which is really like that kind of bizarre combination that makes it really truly unique. Is, you know, your first 3 clients are offline programs for online systems.
Yeah, it's a. I would agree. You explained it so well. How do I even add? So it is essentially getting it so that people have a gift or a touch of the brand. You know, we see a lot that giving things to others gives comes back tenfold. You know, giving a product to somebody comes back into a sell no matter what. So how do we gift things and have this in-person relationship rather than Cutco where you're trying to sell? We are just trying to give you free shit.
Yeah. Here's an opportunity to try something.
Yes. Here's an opportunity to
and if you like it, keep using it.
Yeah, exactly. If you enjoy trying out Uber, if you enjoy trying out audiobooks, if you acknowledge that maybe you're an auditory learner and you didn't realize that before, we've got a lot of school books on our platform. And like if you enjoy these strategies for yourself, we're going to be working with different food brands. So if you enjoy that food type, then you keep it and you keep using it because you're like, oh, I just experimented with this and they gave it to me for free. So, hey, that's nice. And they gave me a shirt. Awesome. And the person's just giving out, and it's nice to have a job where you're just giving out free stuff as a way of making money. And the more free stuff you give out to people, the more money you're making. Like, how crazy of an idea is that?
Yeah, it's definitely a unique scenario.
Yeah, it's so how we have Uber Eats. Like, you give out free food. You're literally giving out codes for free food. And you're getting paid for giving out free food. And granted, it's tracked digitally. But yeah, we're just giving free stuff out. And you get a gift, and you get a gift. Here's a code for you. I don't know what you're doing later, but I got lots of codes for you, darling. Yes. I'm here for you. All the codes. Got lists. Coupons. Anyone need a coupon?
Oh, Dara.
All right.
You're always so much fun. So, are you having fun at Synapse?
Yeah. I will say I regret wearing heels always. I always think that I'm going to be like, no, I can handle wearing heels this time. And then I'll walk around for 10 minutes and I'll be like, why did I do this to myself? Why did I think that this was a good idea?
I know better than this.
I know. It's flats all the time. It's like, why? I need to throw them away, so I don't think that they're an option. If anyone needs some heels, I'm giving them out for free. I'm going to put some Tech Lolly logo on it, though. But yeah, so that's been the difficulty. But other than that, it's really great to see all the different startups that are in the area. I just went to CES and Affiliate Summit, and sometimes you'll meet people in Tampa, but it's cool to actually be here and be like, oh, I can come to your office and harass you, so you can never not return my emails. So we can make these transactions happen.
I have a door to knock on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know where I can go and talk to you guys. If we do want to do business, if we want to get coffee and talk about it, we can. So that's kind of nice, and to see more local startups and try and network with that. Also, there's just been some really interesting startups that I'm like, yes, I need that. Why was this? This is a brilliant idea. Be in my life.
Yeah.
Just hang out at their booth and be like, why weren't you in my life earlier?
And that's one of the things about dealing with startups is you get that, oh, this would have been great. I would like to have been using this last year.
Yeah. There's this one startup upstairs. They just work on trying to get you one meeting with people that you really want to meet with. And for me, that's perfect because I just spent a ton of time trying to get one meeting.
Right.
And I don't think people realize that as a startup. For me as a startup, there's a lot of time and strategy to get one meeting with one person.
Right.
So the fact that there's a whole company that just gets you, you figure out the one meetings with the one people the few people, the handful of people that you're trying to talk to, and they figure out the strategies, try to make the connections. They've already got a network themselves, and they'll just try to get you one meeting.
That's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love it. I was like, why wasn't this, where have you been all my life?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
For you in particular, it's perfect.
Yeah.
No more sneaking onto a calendar.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's
if you've got some software for that too, you know. I mean, I could go both ways.
That story was too much for me.
Should I tell? I mean, I went to a conference and essentially I tried to get a meeting with this person. Because it's really hard for me to get meetings, just because you have to find the one person and you really have to target that one person. It's not like I've got like working with clients like Uber and Lyft at such a high level. You're just trying to find the one person in that corporate office that you're supposed to talk to, and then really like hone in. So I figured out the one person that I was supposed to talk to for this company, and I couldn't get a hold of them, and it was frustrating me. And I just eventually figured out a way to put an appointment on their calendar for us to meet in a certain location. And they were like emailing me like, oh, I don't know if I can make this, like I might have to reschedule. I was like, oh, when do you want to reschedule? Like, and so they rescheduled the meeting, and then they were like, oh, sorry. And then we had a meeting, and it was great, and I'm still in contact with them. We're still working to get them as a client. But after the meeting, they were like, so what third party, I guess they hired a third party company to set up meetings for them so that they would meet with the people that they were supposed to meet with during this conference. So he thought that the meeting that I put on his calendar was scheduled by this third party company. So he was like, oh, did Richard and this third party company that I had never heard of before, did he schedule this meeting? And I was like, no, I just put myself on your calendar. Hey, you're welcome. Yes, this was great. This was an amazing meeting. You're welcome for putting myself on your calendar. And he was, he liked the meeting, and it wasn't a complete waste of time. Like, we are going to work together. So for him, he was like, "Wow, you're brilliant. Like, how did you sneak onto my calendar? Like, how did you make this happen?" I was also seemingly
cleverness.
Yeah, I was also seemingly the most prepared, because he was just shocked that I was like, "Oh, I thought you would ask that question. So here's all the pamphlet information for each question, and here's a cookie with my logo on it. You're amazing. Please work with us."
That's funny.
Yeah, and so he was just like really impressed with how prepared I was for that particular moment, and that I just so happened to make it happen and just be there. So yeah, that was good times, guys. If there's software to help me get onto somebody's Google Calendar, I would also like more information on that. Call me. You can, add me a friend on LinkedIn.
I say, and if people want to contact you, how can they do that?
If you guys want to contact me about TechLolly, feel free to contact me at admin, ADMIN, at TechLolly, TECHLOLLI.com. And you can also add me on LinkedIn. I'm very responsive on LinkedIn. And if you got software information, definitely add me on LinkedIn. But yes, either way, if you want to start promoting and have a side income or a full income, we have people paying their entire mortgages off of giving out free stuff.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, the majority of the people that are on our platform right now, what they're doing, giving out free things, is their full income. It's not a side income. They're not making $200 a week. They're making $2,000 a week. So, yeah, if you want, either way, I'm here for you.
Well, Dara, it's always fun talking to you.
It's great talking to you,
I love
too.
hanging out with you, and
Yay.
Thanks for filling in some time for me.
Great, awesome, all right.
So for those who have been watching our special events coverage for a while, you recognize Dara from Collision this year. And if you want to see her previous interview, collision.live will take you directly to our Collision coverage for 2018. And speaking of Collision, it is coming up again way too fast. And we discussed during Collision last year, but I guess we'll discuss again, that it is moving this year. We've been in New Orleans for 3 years, but for 2019, for this year, we are moving to Toronto.
Da, 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 da.
So Collision 2019 will be in Toronto, and as always, we will be bringing you our live coverage. We're going to do a little bit of experimenting at Collision this year. In particular, on day one, we're going to try an altered version of the format. We've done the same thing for a long time. It's been based on the Tech Podcast Network CES coverage from years past. And we haven't really experimented with a whole lot of different format. Today is part of that experimenting because I think your mic might be on, Michelle, because I can kind of hear Dara. So today is part of that experimentation. The fact that I am hosting solo is part of that test to see what an altered format might or might not look like and how it might or might not work. But at Collision, we want to test a slightly different loading scheme to how guests get in and out of the show so that there's not as much vamping and we can switch between guests quicker for you and easier for us is really what it comes down to. So hopefully we can make that work. So we'll test that at Collision this year. And if you have not heard, PLUGHITZ Live is taking over the Tech Podcast Network CES show for 2020, which Michelle and I are both very excited about. So we will be going back to an older style TPN CES coverage in that the live show will be significantly bigger. We won't be in a hole. We won't be in a closet this year for 2020, which I think all of us involved are excited about not being in the closet.
It's going to be so great.
Yeah. We're actually going to be on the tower above the closet. We'll have almost double. Actually, I think square footage-wise, it is double the space. And we're going to be able to basically have 2 full live setups up there. So it's going to be a really cool situation. And if you watched our old Tech Podcast Network CES stuff from like what's this year? 2019. So 16, 19, 18, 17, we were off 16. 16 and before, we had a significantly bigger show with an actual studio and motion behind us, and that's what we're going to get back to. We're going to have the show floor behind us again, but from up top, and we're going to focus on Eureka Park, which is where all the startups are, and we're really going to make a big show of it because it has gotten smaller every year over the last couple of years, and I think CES for the Tech Podcast Network deserves a bigger presence, and so we are going to bring that bigger presence. I see that we have a comment. Oh, no. We have a new subscriber on YouTube. Hopefully you're watching our Synapse coverage. Hello to Lori. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I know Michelle is excited about that, being able to put the executive producer title on CES coverage for the entire network.
Absolutely.
Is something that she's excited about.
I'm so excited.
We have been trying to do this for a couple of years, and it hasn't happened. And this year, we sealed it. I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
I think Dara got us an interview.
Oh, I don't. Okay.
But we need to wait a minute, though, because we're going to see if Troy shows up.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So this year, the next 12 months is going to be a pretty big transitional year for what we're doing for a number of reasons. Obviously, the first of which is that, we're doing shows like this again, which we like to do. We're experimenting with new formats, the single host format. Collision, we're going to try a dual single host format, which is a little strange to say out loud because in 2020 we want to try that from the tower. So, yes, 2019 is going to be a transitional year for the way we do live coverage. But I guess go ahead and tell Michelle that we can go ahead and do this. So, like I said, our schedule is a little flexible during a show like this because chaos, right? It's the way a show like this works. But with that, our next guest is here. Hello.
What's up?
Oh, hold on. We'll give that one more try as soon as Dave turns the mic on.
Okay.
There we go, again. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
What's up, guys? Laura Egochega here. I'm with Vibe Tech, Tampa's #1 growth hack marketing firm, and I also have an app called Startup Space. Can I talk about Startup Space?
Absolutely. Talk about it.
So Startup Space is an app. It's on the Apple Store and on the Android store. We pretty much connect startups and entrepreneurs to mentors, to funding, to training, to go from the idea phase to actually building a business and scaling the business and having a successful business. And it's all free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how do you pull that off? How do you make it free?
So the way we make our money is by actually white labeling the software to, for example, like incubators or accelerators.
Okay.
And we give them the ecosystem so that they can grow their community.
Sure. That makes sense. Very interesting. So where did that idea come from?
So the founder, his name's actually David Ponraj. I'm the head of growth.
Okay.
So he worked for Nielsen in the actual innovation space. So he was the VP of innovation, and he saw that there was no solution for the ecosystem. So he created the app, and he's also an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur himself, and he wanted to democratize the information, right? Because if you go into an incubator or an accelerator now, they're going to take a percentage of your company, right? So we're a virtual incubator. We don't take any amount of your company. We just give you the resources so that you can change the world.
Okay. So on the self-labeled side, it's I can join the platform. Is there an application process, or is it I can join?
You create an account.
Okay.
Literally download the app, create an account, and ideally, it's whatever you're struggling with in your business at that moment. For example, you can't get funding, or you're having an issue getting funding. You write that exact question on, and either an investor or a mentor or some type of industry expert will respond to you and give you a solution to your problem.
Okay, interesting. And where do the mentors come from? Are you guys out actively sourcing? Is that where they come from?
Yeah, so pretty much we were just at CES. I don't know if you know what CES is.
Oh yeah, we were there.
Dope. So we were exhibiting there. And service providers are on the platform. Everybody's on the platform. It's awesome. We literally launched about 4 or 6 months ago. And we already have over 60,000 users. We have over 400 mentors, 200 investors. It's growing. We're getting a lot of traction.
Okay, that's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, we're doing awesome.
That's really cool. So let me go through in my head. Let me go through the process. So I download the app. I sign up for the platform as a startup, let's say, and I imagine I create a profile about who I am and what it is I'm working on, and then do I pose a question out into the ether and I start getting answers back?
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly how it works.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
so
and if you need resources, if you need a co-working area or stuff like that, it's all geofenced.
Okay.
Per 1,000 miles. Okay. So you get if you have an accounting question or anything like that, it's going to be local people, lawyers, and stuff like that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And we're worldwide. We did Web Summit also. We're in Africa. We're in Asia. We're all over Europe.
Okay. So if I'm looking for, say, an investor for a product idea, I can put that out into the ether and possibly come back with.
You just have to tag it with whatever specific subject it is.
Okay. So there are categories of requests out there, and so I say I'm looking for investment. My profile already has idea of what it is that I'm working on, and so investors can see my profile and come to me if they're interested in the idea.
Yep, and all you have to do is ask the question.
Awesome.
It's that simple.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. And you said startup space?
Startup space.
Okay, yeah, I absolutely saw a sign for that. Were you guys in the Sands?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we were at.
Yeah,
we actually get lucked out and got the corner lot.
Yep.
So everybody saw us. It was super awesome.
I absolutely encountered startup space while we were wandering the floor.
That's
so
awesome. That's good to know.
That's pretty cool. So if people want more information about the platform, how can they get it?
You guys can Google it. You guys can check us out on Instagram. Specifically, you should go follow me on Instagram just because I'm awesome. You don't want to miss out on that. But yeah, just literally Google Startup Space. Look it up on the App Store. Download the app. Create an account and change your life.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that Dara was able to get
hook
your
us
attention and have you come sit down over here.
Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
my man. I appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You too.
I saw Troy.
Yes.
Walk by.
Yes.
Is he?
He's doing a.
Thank you, Adam.
He's doing a quick lap.
And
he's going to be right back.
Okay, fantastic. So we absolutely encountered Startup Space.
Where were they?
In the Sands. They were
upstairs or down?
I think downstairs. You never made it
I didn't
downstairs.
get a chance to make it downstairs.
Yeah.
Downstairs this year.
I absolutely saw the logo at some point. So that's interesting. And it's a really interesting platform. Involved in a lot of stuff and a lot of interesting stuff too, which is fascinating. Dara has a video, the two of them together, talking about Tech Lolly, which was a really cool opportunity for Dara. So
that's cool.
Obviously, my concern over that was entirely over scheduling because I didn't want to get in Troy's way.
No, absolutely.
Because for those of you watching live, Troy is the person who is in charge of this entire aspect of the concourse for the Synapse Summit. He's the head of this hub, and we definitely want to be able to feature, since we didn't get one of the Synapse directors. We definitely want to make sure that at least one of the hub directors gets on the air today. And the last thing we want is to bring you guys a 2-minute interview.
Right.
Because we have to kick somebody out because the person who's scheduled for that slot shows up, and we never like to make a guest feel unwanted or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So.
And Dara was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I brought her on, because you didn't have anybody." I'm like, "No, that's fine. And if you hadn't, who knows when Troy would have showed up." So.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I definitely appreciate. I definitely appreciate Dara helping us fill time. That's one of the things, like I said, chaos ensues at these types of shows. It just is what it is. There's one or two people at most of these booths, and so you get into a conversation, and what happens? You have to stay.
Right.
You can't go, well, I'm sorry, this is a great conversation with a prospect client, but bye, I've got to go do a thing. So our schedule gets a little chaotic at shows like this, which is the last two interviews. Neither of them were on the schedule. I'm going to have to get all of that information from Dara, contact information.
Yes. I didn't know they were going to scoot away so quickly.
It's okay. Chief Marketing Officer for Tech Lolly as well. So, no worries. Yeah. Just joined the Tech Lolly board a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So, the two of them are very well connected, spend a lot of time together.
Right.
I think it's really interesting that Dara has kind of moved to the Tampa area at this point.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool having her
I didn't know
here.
if she was just visiting at first.
No. So I love to tell people this. She lives in a circus. Uh-huh.
Wait.
You heard me right.
What?
Which is actually interesting. If you followed some of our previous stuff, when we used to produce TEDx event with Terry Willingham a number of years ago, we had a speaker at the TEDx event who was there first. So 2 people that are in our like corporate circle both have lived in this same circus. So that's weird. But yeah, it's technically not a circus per se, but it is a gym that is entirely, all of the activities are circus related activities. So, you know, even like the ribbon stuff where you're doing like aerial gymnastics on ribbons and stuff like that, they do all of that right outside of her room.
I need to go visit her there.
Yeah, it's from what I understand, it's a really cool facility. She really likes being there. She's like, I don't take advantage of the things as much as I should, but you get inspired by the things that are possible by seeing this weirdness
that makes sense
happen right outside your bedroom door.
So much creativity and art everywhere. It has to be very inspirational.
And it's in downtown St. Pete. So if you want to talk about art and inspiration, downtown St. Pete is kind of full of that kind of art and inspiration stuff. So, yeah, Dara is a fascinating person. I'm glad we were able to have her on the show again. But our next guest is here. Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
Hey, I'm Troy Daland. I'm with the United States Air Force. Been in 24 years and actually looking to transition out this year. So I'll finish out a military career right here at MacDill Air Force Base.
That's awesome. Obviously, MacDill has a lot going on for it, especially as far as the Air Force is concerned.
Right.
You know, SOCOM is
SOCOM,
is here,
CENTCOM, MARCENT, SOCCENT. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on.
So much stuff is based here in town, and you know that has spawned things like SoftWorks,
correct,
in Ybor, which is an organization we've gotten to work with before. So
right here in Synapse, I got them in Hub 1. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're great, and we the group that put that together originally went off and did AFWorks in Las Vegas, and so we got a tour of that last year.
Have you been up to Defense Works?
No.
Up there in the Panhandle. So they started it all.
Okay.
Right, and it spawned off into these other little branches. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten to do that one, but we were at AFWorks the day after the vice president, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Right. Okay. SoftWorks is probably one of my favorites. First of all, it's a cool space.
Yes.
So you go over and you see all the work that they're doing with the drones and the Thunderdome that they got there. They have great event space as well.
Yes.
So we've been fortunate to use this in the past.
The smart, what do they call it? The smart safe house?
Yeah.
In the
very much
in the room where the Thunder drone got started.
Right.
That's a cool project that actually one of our exhibitors here had a hand in.
And I think they have a couple of those drones that they use in there. Mm-hmm. They're set up in their booth, so check it out.
That's so cool. So what is it that you yourself are involved in?
So I work at Special Operations Command Central, so we handle the Middle East. And really what I do personally is personnel recovery. Essentially, it's anyone that goes beyond enemy lines, captured. We're responsible for the planning, the execution of getting those people back.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's a job with a lot of pressure on it.
Yeah, there's a couple, absolutely. But I've been doing it long enough, and I work with a great bunch of people. It makes it very easy to get the job done.
Well, that's good. There's no better group at it than the U.S. Armed Forces.
Oh my gosh, what a talent pool!
Yeah,
I'm very impressed. Always very impressed. So what's interesting as I make this transition out of the military, how do you find that fit?
Right.
To go into this new world, right?
Sure. And what's your goal there?
So my goal is to do mergers and acquisitions, right? So as I enter that field, of course, you got to get out and develop a network of people, and then events like this definitely help.
Synapse is a great place to do that.
Right. There's a bunch of 501s out there that also help bring military out. And I'm involved with an organization called Your Grateful Nation, where they transition special operations guys into the civilian workforce. So pretty fortunate with that group there.
Yeah, that's a great goal for that organization. I like
fantastic, yeah. We do a lot of work, and it's nationwide.
That's cool. So are you hoping to stay in the area?
There's no hope. There's no hope. I will be staying in Tampa.
Okay, excellent.
Tampa has got a great feel to it. My wife and I and kids, they love it here. It's going to be very hard to pull me away from that. And take a look at Tampa. Look at all the people that came over for this event.
Yeah.
There's a lot of innovation going on here. When you look at Mark Blumenthal and Andy Hafer that put all this together with their team at Synapse, incredible.
Yeah.
This is the right venue.
And then when you add, when you add Jeff Vinnick, who owns the Lightning and Amalie, and the things that he's doing, the whole downtown revitalization project, $4.1 billion project.
So downtown is very special to me because I live here.
Sure.
So everything that's going on right now plays into the future of my family. So, and of course, I love the Bolts.
Yeah, indeed.
Right? Yeah, never miss a game. Even though I'm from New England, and this was started by a Boston Bruins guy, so I do love the Bolts.
But that's okay because he left all that and said Tampa,
they came down to the
deserves.
good weather. They came down the good weather. But you can't pull those teams out of me. So
fair enough. But yeah, the stuff that Vinnick is doing with, Bill Gates has put money into it.
Very fortunate.
There's some really cool stuff going on in Tampa, and I think Vinnick is finally the one to be able to, the Riverwalk, the county stopped at about 70% of the project. But I think Vinnick is the one who's actually, he's got a vision and he's not going to let it go.
Right, look at the growth. So the past 3 years that I've been here in Tampa, I've seen the city grow.
Oh,
yeah, and I've never seen anything like that before. So I like to be at the ground floor of it, and I think we are right here.
Yeah, and it's a city that has decided to focus on things like technological innovation and things like that, with organizations like Synapse and FCDI, who just happens to be here in front of us, and things like that. It's really a city who wants that. Some cities kind of, some cities are like, bring it or not, whatever. But Tampa is like, we want to be that.
Right. And I tell you what, I've lived in California. It is hard to live in California and start a business, right? Look at Tampa. The price point to get into Tampa to do the same stuff you're doing in the Silicon Valley in Northern California, it can't be matched.
Right, absolutely.
So you can come here, bring your whole organization, go ahead and live here. You got great beaches. Look at the sports teams, right?
Yeah. And
so
you've got a variety.
Very fortunate.
You got a variety of things. You can live in Tampa, and you've got, depending on where you are, you've got beaches within a matter of minutes. You've got Orlando.
I was going to say there's
Disney,
like a mouse up there, right up the road, about
within
45
an hour.
minutes.
Yeah, there's so much diversity in what you can do recreationally. Then you've got USF, UT, Florida Polytech.
Yeah,
great schools for focusing on innovation.
Oh, fantastic! The UT's got that entrepreneur program that they have over there. It's pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's if you look at some of the booths that we have through the program here, they're all funded by that entrepreneurship over there at UT.
Okay.
So they have a couple of banners up. Some of the innovation that's going on right now is definitely supported by that. So, again, we're very fortunate. Oh, did we mention we have an international airport?
Yes.
Like 10 minutes down the road.
Right.
So we can bring people into Tampa.
We can see the planes out the window here.
every day, for sure. Well, fantastic.
Yeah. So it's definitely a great place, and it's good to have so much of the military's innovation ideas also happening here in Tampa. It has definitely helped with stuff like SoftWorks and.
Let's talk about the talent pool that comes out of the military. So there's a lot of commands over there, and guys that are in the twilight of their career. So a lot of them will retire right here in Tampa.
Right.
And they keep that talent right here.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity to go ahead and slide right into the business that's going on in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and as the business need grows, and you've got people retiring, out of some of those top talent positions,
right.
Like you said, so many of the commands are based here in Tampa.
Yeah.
You're not, you don't get to that position as a slouch.
Yeah.
You know, it's
sure.
So it's top talent people retiring here into Tampa as the business need is growing.
Yep.
It's a perfect combination.
I tell you what, you got a great proving ground in the military to go ahead and practice leadership and working with different countries and partnering. We can do that in the civilian world as well.
Sure.
Leadership is probably one of the key elements that you want in a business. We got a talent pool right over there at MacDill Air Force Base that's transitioning out of the military that you can easily do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So bring those people on. So.
Well, I'm very happy that you were able to come and talk to us today because we definitely wanted to. This is a great hub. You know, cybersecurity and defense and the STEM stuff. There's so much interesting stuff here, and it actually flows really well. It's so much better being inside on the concourse this year than out.
Oh yeah,
aside where we were last year.
Right, this works out, and we're just improving this.
Yeah,
Synapse and Florida Funders, they're improving this event every single year.
Yeah, they're definitely learning a lot from year to year because from 1 to 2, from what I understand, it was a huge improvement, and then from last year to this year, it's again for me getting inside instead of having to do this outside is way better.
Right.
But the flow in here seemed way more natural than it was.
It is
last year, and
it
the speaker quality is going up.
Yeah.
It's really a
really
a good show.
Sarah talked about Honey Fun this morning. What a great, and she's a case in point where she came from California and brought her organization right here to Clearwater.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for.
Yeah,
that's the type.
Instead of Wikipedia going the other way.
Yeah.
Because Wikipedia started here and left. So
that's okay.
I much prefer to hear the story coming back instead of leaving.
Yeah, Honey Fun's where to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to me today. And thanks for putting all the effort into making this side of the concourse great.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You take care.
You
Enjoy
too.
yourself.
Obviously, this event is young. It's very young. I think this is only the 3rd year for this event, and we have really grown from the first year to the second year, and then for us, from last year to this year, is a huge change. Like I mentioned, the STEM pavilion was all outside. If you've ever been to the Amalie Arena, the big steps that come up by the ticket office, we were there. We were at the top of those big steps. And so we were outside for the entire time. And I know Terry was pretty annoyed being outside last year. Luckily, it was at a time of the year where it wasn't horrible. We weren't the event doesn't happen in July where I would have turned Terry down for participating if I had known we were outside. But we were definitely outside, and it made things weird. The videos were very dark last year because we were outside. And so it's nice that they're really working on improving this event from year to year. They learn lessons like don't put the STEM stuff outside and don't separate one of the vendors from the exhibitors from everybody else, which was a mistake that was made last year. And so they're learning, and the event just gets better every year. Well, we have our next guest here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Hi, I'm Jillian Freya from SolidWorks Corporate Office. I manage our SolidWorks for Entrepreneurs program.
And so this is a great place for you to be. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in the building.
It's an awesome place to be.
A lot of startups. I have gotten to hear some stories from some people who have gotten to leave their little corner of the thing. And there's some really cool startups here.
Yeah, very cool startups. So, I mean, we're excited to be here and work with some sort of cross-disciplinary areas and not just your traditional mechanical engineers who are used to using SolidWorks.
Sure.
To also talk with some of the other startups who are, designing something physical and need access to the types of resources that we provide.
So, for those who may not know, what is SolidWorks?
SolidWorks is a premier computer-aided design program, so it allows you to design anything physical from the iPhones or Androids that we all use to maybe the pair of glasses you'd wear.
And even the little parts and pieces inside that make all of those things possible.
Yeah, pretty much anything. So small assemblies to really large assemblies, automotives, aircrafts.
And we were talking last night. We had the opportunity to talk last night about how you guys work with FIRST a lot, and and how CAD and all of that stuff is a major player in those teams being able to compete on the field.
Yeah, we love to support the FIRST robotics teams and make sure that the students have access to premier tools that they can use to really help their teams succeed and win some competitions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know from experience that SolidWorks is without question the way that teams go, because it's the way the industry goes. Like it's such a big part of the actual industry that it makes sense.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on making sure that the students are trained in the software and are able to learn the skills that can take them through their careers, and from FIRST through university, then on to the next step, whether it be as their own startup and designing their own physical product, or working for a large commercial customer who needs top-notch designers. And we really are interested in sort of democratizing this innovation and helping students all over the world to have access to these types of resources.
Yeah, and it's obviously the more available this kind of thing is, and the more people who understand what it is, the more ideas can be brought out of people's heads and into the physical world.
Exactly, yeah. Really trying to get that out there, and FIRST Robotics is a great way to do that, and have students share their ideas, learn from each other, get those ideas out there, and continue to innovate.
Yeah, and obviously with 3D printing at this point really becoming a big thing. I mean, we had the guy who runs all of the tech for Amalie also has a 3D printing company. So it's so prevalent, and SolidWorks is obviously an integral part of that as well.
Yeah, we love to be involved with the 3D printers. I use it myself, play around with it at our Fab Lab at our headquartered office, which is a blast to sort of see what you can design, what you can print out, and it's great.
And 3D printers are getting like way more capable. Even just a year ago, it was really a prototyping tool. But we were talking with somebody a little while ago that has a printer that can do 4 materials at once, so that the dissolvable structs and stuff like that all become way more possible.
Yeah, to metals and not just plastics anymore, but really for anybody to now be able to print with metals as well. It's incredible.
Not just the military who's had that ability for a long time, but we're at a point where aluminum and stuff like that are totally available to
like
us.
You and I, right. It's great. I was just talking with a startup who's designing bras, and they're actually looking at 3D printing some parts to integrate into that. So it's fun to see kind of that mixture of where we can get involved with things that are, maybe not quite what you do think of for CAD, but really textiles and anything physical. So it's been fun to see how people can take that and apply it to sort of the next thing. So
and that's that's one of those things about CAD, is that almost anything that you're doing that involves the physical world has some way to connect with CAD, and that it can make that process easier.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it saves you a ton of time on prototyping and wasted materials, and it's especially in these new industries that haven't been aren't so used to using it, to see how they can maybe save some time, save some energy, and really good, especially for startups and entrepreneurs to who have such limited resources, to not have to waste their time and resources on prototyping a million times, but to design it in CAD first, and get your plan together, and then be able to find that product market fit and really launch.
Make sure, like, if you're integrating with something, that your parts will fit in the place, and then they'll fit together, and then all those things, instead of
wasting around a prototyping on finding out later it could have been fixed pretty easily on in a CAD program.
And you can test what, because 3D printing is great for, especially in the prototype phase, but at some point possibly going to want to go to molding and stuff like that,
Right.
which is stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so you can test out what would a molded piece look and feel like
Exactly.
before you go to the trouble of putting together an assembly line,
Yeah.
which, again, stupid expensive.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we're happy to be able to help out the startups with, some of these big challenges that they face, and we really do feel like product market fit is just such a key part of being a successful startup, and we're thrilled to be in that space and be able to offer a resource that can help them find the product market fit.
And the resource.
The resource.
You know
yes,
what I mean?
I'm proud to say the resource. Yeah.
I don't work for you, and I'll say the resource.
Oh,
I don't.
thank
I don't think I know anybody who's doing anything in 3D printing or prototyping who doesn't use SolidWorks. There are competitors, but I don't think there really are. You know what I mean? I definitely
we're
think,
honored to be considered.
I definitely think that
premium
SolidWorks
product.
is it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
We've used it. We talked about
Yeah.
the Robot in a Weekend event that we
it's
did.
so cool.
We talked last night, and
Yeah.
boy, did we use people who hadn't used SolidWorks before were being trained during the event and printing stuff while we were there.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
the idea that somebody could, while we're building a physical robot in 3 days,
Right, yeah.
could also learn
Learn it.
SolidWorks and be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
got it, and start putting stuff together. So
It's pretty incredible, and we've got plenty of people who kind of went from not really having that technical background
Right.
to maybe going through some of the certification programs and learning it in a matter of a week's time and being able to pass their certification and get hired in a job for designing something because they can really prove their skills and prove their knowledge of using SolidWorks and being able to model super proficiently. So
yeah, for sure.
It's pretty amazing.
So now I know that you guys have also been working on something else that you recently ran a contest with some of the first students on.
Yes, yeah.
So how much of that can we talk about?
I'm happy to talk a bit about the first robotics competition. So
I was talking about
yes,
our X.
Right, so it ties
Yeah.
into this. So
Okay.
we are sort of exploring X Design, which is a cloud-based product. So it's still we call it a lighthouse program at the moment. So we're testing it, and it's great because it's
I
a
like
way.
that term.
Lighthouse, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's a great way for people to try out the product, and what we did was we opened it up to the first robotics teams and had 50 teams compete in this challenge where they got to design a moon lander. So threw it out there and said, design a moon lander. And they were incredible. What they came up with was really amazing, and to see them, think through every detail of these moon landers and collaborate together and be able to use the cloud product to do that. So they picked it up and had a great time with it. The contest was
awesome.
They only had a few weeks to do this, and they were able to make it happen. And we were thrilled to run that with them and see their final moon landers and
dealing with a first team who is already used to building a full thing, designing and putting together a full thing.
Right, yeah.
You at least knew that they were going to think through as many of the things
everything.
as they could. As they knew about.
Right.
So
and their mentors were incredible too.
That's
They
good.
certainly were huge help, and probably one of the coolest things is that we had them all collaborate on this platform, on the 3D Experience platform. So they were able to sort of have this community where they could discuss what was going on, with the competition. So it's kind of a bit of a strategy of, how much do we share with the rest of the community without giving away our entire design?
Right.
But also being able to lean on each other a bit and ask questions, and teams were responding to each other, helping each other out. Mentors were helping each other. So it was a beautiful thing to see.
And that there is first in a single sentence.
Oh yeah.
The teams helping each other out. Yeah.
Totally.
That is first.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was really awesome.
The cooperation is the term that first uses for that.
Yeah, they're very good at that.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Because this match, your partner may be your competitor in the next match. So you've got to have that mentality that nobody is a Nobody is the enemy.
And what's great is that follows through into their futures as well. When you think about when they go into the workforce, and like, this is something we all deal with, right? I mean, you want to make sure you're able to work and cooperate with everyone in the organization, and they're learning that skill.
And in some cases outside of the organization, because at the ARM Institute event last night, we were talking about how sometimes organizations will come together maybe to buy a piece of equipment to work together, where they're technically competitors, but they're even buying equipment together.
But they're actually sort of working together, right.
So you may literally work with your competitors to do a thing. So that's so cool. So if people want to find out more about SolidWorks and what it is that you're up to in the organization, how can they do that?
So they can do that by going to solidworks.com, or if you go to solidworks.com/entrepreneurs, you will find an application to the individual entrepreneur program. So if you're a startup who needs access to some awesome CAD design tools, there's a brief application that you can fill out, and if you qualify, then we're able to provide licenses for up to a year and support you with some additional resources, connect you to some awesome people and accelerators and incubators. And also for those accelerators and incubators out there that may have startups who need access, we're also happy to support in any ways that we can as well, and offer some resources there. So
that's so cool. I think that participation in the community is almost certainly the reason why everybody knows SolidWorks. You know what I mean?
I mean, we want to make sure that we're there where the designers are. We're able to make sure that they know we're here for them. So
and it creates a positive sentiment around the brand, which is great.
We're definitely proud of that, of being involved with the community and the startup ecosystem and First Robotics. So it's it's been a blast to work with all those teams.
Well, that's so cool. Well,
awesome.
I look forward to discussing some more on how lots of the things that we're working on might fit together. So
I think so. I can't wait. Happy I met you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you came to the thing last night.
Great. Yeah, me too.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
And have a good rest of the conference.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Yes. Obviously, CAD stuff right now is a big part of kind of everything, because like we were talking about, 3D printing is a huge thing right now, and then you've got so you have to design a thing before you can print it, and so CAD is the way you do that. And I honestly, again, they're not paying me to say this. I think SolidWorks, without question, is the way to do that. I don't think there's a product that comes even close. The fact that Marissa during Robot in a Weekend last year, the fact that Marissa was able to go from zero knowledge to printing parts through SolidWorks just during that weekend is a testament to being able to do a complicated thing in a non-complicated manner, because CAD is massively complicated. It is literally the definition. CAD is defining complexity. that is what the process of CAD is defining complexity.
Right.
And so to be able to make it so easy to define complexity, to define the things in the real world.
Right.
To go from zero knowledge. Like, I sat there and I watched. I had used it eons ago, and that doesn't quite count. But, I sat there with Marissa while she was doing it, and Adam was sitting there at the same time. He was sitting there during the Robot in a Weekend, and we watched Marissa go from 0 to 100 on it and printing parts, and I was able to get back into it in that short time, too. So definitely impressive.
Cool.
Well, our next guest is here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
All right. My name is Meredith Hrabsky. I am the Senior Director of the Brigade Network at Code for America.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Code for America is a great organization. I imagine.
You're familiar?
I imagine
All right,
that's
there you go.
Terry probably brought you over
She
here.
did, yeah. She did indeed.
Because I know
she's a good champion of the cause.
Oh, for sure. She's got one of the branches at the Fab Lab now.
Exactly.
So for those who aren't aware of what it is, go ahead and explain it a little bit.
All right, so Code for America is a national nonprofit that essentially believes that government should work in the 21st century. That our founding fathers 200 years ago had a vision in mind, but the implementation of that vision 200 years later doesn't necessarily result in people getting the kinds of services that they need on a daily basis. So that's our overarching kind of vision of how we want the world to be. The reason I'm here is because I help run a national network of Code for America chapters across the country. So we've got 77 volunteer chapters across the U.S. in all different kinds of cities and communities. And we've got activists and coders and designers and developers, folks who want to put their skills to use to work with their local governments to improve their communities on a variety of different issues. So we've got teams working on affordable housing in Austin, Texas. We've got teams working on racial justice in Asheville, all in partnership with their communities, working together to collectively solve problems, to put sort of users and people at the center of policy and make sure that our government services work for people in the 21st century, in the digital age.
77 chapters,
yeah.
huh?
Yep, indeed.
Wow.
I know.
That's a lot of chapters.
Yeah, I think especially now that's pretty relevant. We've got people who are raising their hands to say, I'm not just going to complain about the way things are, I am going to help work to improve, what I want my community to look like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That's because I think the one thing that both sides of the political spectrum can agree on is that the government doesn't work.
Right.
It's big, it's clumsy, and it's trying to do things that it doesn't understand, and there's all kinds of things that make it not work efficiently.
And I think we're headed for trouble if we can't reinforce people's trust in government fairly quickly. In the last 30 years, we've seen people's faith in institutions, media, government, Congress, sort of at all levels. People have dramatically decreasing faith in our institutions. And if we don't, in fact, prove that government can and should work for people, I think we're headed towards some difficult times ahead.
Yeah, for sure. And so the place where Code for America fits in is getting people from the community involved to recognize a need and then work together to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. So we have sort of three pillars of our theory of change, the way we make change in communities. And that's to first show what's possible. And we often use technology to be able to do that, resources that are at our disposal paired with local government services. One example I'll give is in California. We're working on this program called Get CalFresh, so California's version of food stamps. As of a couple years ago, that process to apply for food stamps in California is really inaccessible. It would take 40 minutes or more to complete an application. It wasn't available on a mobile phone, even though 10% of folks who need these services are mobile only. So this is an example, I think, of our services not being designed with people in the center.
Sure.
Sort of at the policy level, but then when it gets to people, it's pretty inaccessible. So we try to flip that on its head, create a mobile app paired with building capacity within government partnership to make their services more responsive, decrease the application time by like 80%. It takes now 7 minutes to apply instead of 40 minutes or more, and has increased people's ability to access food stamps dramatically. So the first sort of step is to show what's possible, show what you can do when you pair good technology with putting people at the center of policy. The second is to help others do it themselves. So I mentioned building capacity within local governments. We've got all kinds of talented people at all levels of government. We want to make sure that they have the resources that they need to implement these services, that they have the training, that they understand some of the principles of user research and design in order to be able to do this kind of at a scalable level. Yeah. And then the third piece is to build a movement around this work. So that's what our volunteer network, our brigade chapters represent. We've got one here in Tampa Bay. That are working to recruit folks to get involved in this, to work on local issues, to demonstrate that change is possible, to be champions for to advocating to local officials, state officials, to say that we need to make sure our government services work for people and hold our elected officials accountable to doing some of that as well.
Yeah, and one of the side effects of this is, of course, creating efficiencies. And efficiencies are always better when the government works smoother, it costs less to do the same thing.
You're reciting our talking points. Yes. One of them is, better can cost less. And again, no matter what side of the aisle you fall on or where you are on the political spectrum, that's something that's attractive to all of us. We want to make sure taxpayer dollars are being used most efficiently.
Sure.
And we can do that, again, when we put people first, when we pair good technology with good design of government policy and particularly the implementation of that policy.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. That's and being able to engage at a more local level, like Tampa Bay through FCDI and things like that, is obviously great because each area has different needs. California food stamps. Okay, well, theirs may have been a problem, but Boston's may not have been.
Right.
So, trying to solve a bigger problem may not be efficient.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned kind of different projects across different chapters, different regions. I think one that's particularly cool that Code for Tampa Bay has been a part of is hurricane relief, disaster relief. So as hurricanes have been bearing down, across the southeast, we've had our volunteer chapters come together to plot where shelters are available and get those on a searchable map. So folks, when they need to access, where can I go to be safe during this disaster, they see what's available kind of in real time, because previously that shelter information was getting updated only a couple times a day, and shelters would fill up and people wouldn't know about that, or new shelters would open and no one would know. So we had volunteers calling up shelters, figuring out what's available, populating that into our database, into our website, and this means potentially lives saved when hours make a difference in these kinds of disasters.
So like parking lot information, but for hurricane shelters, for emergency shelters.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
That's obviously a great. Because it's a problem that somebody up north may not have ever even considered because the weirdness that is preparing for a hurricane down here is, it's bizarre. And so, if you're in flood level 1, you got to go first, and where are you going to go? But God forbid you're in flood level 3, and by the time an evacuation order for you is out, what's left?
Yeah, and you don't know what's available.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you've got an hour to figure it out, and if you head to a shelter that's already full,
you've wasted some of that time.
Right.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
matters.
So if people want more information about Code for America, how can they get it?
I'm glad you asked. Go to codeforamerica.org, check out our brigade network, join a local chapter, or start your own.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And enjoy the rest of Synapse.
Will do.
This is something that Terry has been a big proponent of even before the FCDI stuff started, was the code for, it used to be Code for Hillsborough, and I think there was also a code for Pinellas, and it merged into Code for Tampa Bay under the FCDI banner at this point. Oh, there's Tony. Tony's right behind you, so he's going to come sit down. And then this will close it up, because obviously it needs to. I don't even know what time they're going to kick us out of here. Huh? Is it soon? I was thinking it was 5, which means an hour and a half. But that's okay. Obviously, our rules are a little different as exhibitors than the average person. But anyway, yeah, the Code for America stuff is a great thing. Anytime, and like she said, can we verify that camera is still recording? Because I don't see. I'm going to do something weird and put my hand in front of your face for a second, because I don't know that the one shot is still recording, but it might be. I don't know for sure though. You gotta face it toward the screen towards you. Does B say that it's out of memory? No? Okay. So it should still be recording then? Okay, excellent. The screen on that one's different than the rest of them, so unless you want to go verify. Okay. Anyway, if you're watching live, I apologize. What was that, Michelle?
It was not recording. He pushed the button again.
Oh, great.
So I don't know when it stopped.
Oh, good. That's always fun. Anyway, if you're watching live, you know that sometimes things go weird, and we figure it out. But anyway, our next guest is here. Hello.
How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
It's so great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. It's been a long time.
I know.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for those who don't know you.
So my name is Tony Salvaggio, and I'm the founder of a company called eSmart Recycling. And essentially what we do is that we take old legacy IT equipment, especially from companies and large corporations, and we recycle it properly. We destroy all of the data. And then we use a portion of those proceeds to set up tech incubators for kids in the community who can't afford or don't have access to technology.
Which is a great mission.
Thank you so much.
We've had the opportunity to have you on the show several years ago now.
Yes.
I think it was like 2015 was the last time you were on the show.
Well, we're one of the OGs.
Yeah, indeed.
I know.
from when it was Gulf Coast MakerCon.
I know.
Long ago.
It's incredible how fast time goes.
I know.
Yeah.
So since we last spoke on air, because you and I have talked obviously since then in person, but since then, how have things been going? It looks like things are really picking up for you guys.
You know, things are going great. These past 4 years have been amazing. We have gone through a very interesting growth and evolution process.
Sure.
And we've acquired a lot of experience along the way. We've acquired a lot of great partners along the way too. And you know, I was just talking about this a little bit ago. You know, a few months back, maybe a year back, we were thinking to ourselves, you know, this is, you know, we were on our 3-year mark as a company, and you know, for a company's 3-year mark is this really happening? Are we going to make it?
Yeah.
Or what are we going to do? And I mean, we're happy to say that we are making it. We have a very strong business model. We have grown. We have expanded our footprint internationally. So it's good. It's all very
awesome.
good.
That's great. It's always good to see good ideas make it. You know, because not all of them do.
Correct.
Some people can't execute, or the timing on finding partners doesn't work out.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, especially to do something that requires so much community involvement is what you're doing.
Correct.
You know, that can be hard to get the community behind sometimes. So
well, and that's, you know, you just brought up something key. You know, I think that for social entrepreneurs, for mission-driven companies, they think that it's either or. It's community impact it's revenue producing, and it can be either or, right? It has to be both, and that's one of the things that happened to us very early on. We were very focused on building those community relationships and measuring that impact and looking at that ROI of the social impact. And you know what? We neglected business operations.
Sure.
And we felt it to the point where we had to say, listen, we have to focus on our revenue. We have to build a good company and a good business model.
Yeah.
And that's really what saved us.
Well, it's good that you caught it before it was too late. Because if you were too far in the hole, you may not have been able to pull back from it. So it's good that you saw the problem and were able to act on it.
Yes.
Because obviously the idea of being able to help, be able to help, you know, kids in either parts of the world or even parts of the country that don't have access to the things that
we take for granted.
The things that, I mean, as we're sitting here, we've got cameras pointed at us and phones and computers and all kinds of stuff just as part of our studio. You know, we take a lot of this stuff for granted, and it's not that way everywhere. And so, you know, being able to help with that is great. But on the other hand, being able to help keep the lead and stuff that's in dead electronics out of the water and capacitors have all kinds of crap in them
It's nasty.
that shouldn't be in our water.
It's really, really nasty. And I don't remember if I share this piece of data with you. I probably did, because that was one of the ones that really stuck. But one lithium-ion battery that's on your phone can contaminate 100,000 gallons of water.
Yeah, that's not a stat that you've given before.
No.
Say that again?
So one lithium-ion battery,
Okay.
and this is an EPA fact,
Okay.
right? One lithium-ion battery, like the one that's on your phone, has enough toxins in it to contaminate 100,000 gallons of water.
100,000 gallons of water.
Yeah. And
My
well,
goodness.
The thing is that the problem with...
And that's just a phone. Think
Correct.
about a laptop or something like that. It has a significantly bigger lithium-ion battery in it.
Well, I mean, Scott, we get rid of about 350,000 computers a day. It's it's literally thrown away, discarded, right? A portion of that is recycled, but a good portion is not. You can't get to them all.
Right.
But I think the biggest, there are a lot of stats around there. As long as the problem doesn't hit home, right, we're not really going to do anything about it. But the good thing
That's
is that
pretty human nature right there.
it is. Let's let technology or smart people figure that one out. But I think we're in a very interesting age where companies and decision makers and people in positions of leadership are taking a forward-thinking approach to that and a proactive approach to that. And those are our stakeholders. Those are our clients and our partners and so on.
Sure, that's great. So you're based. I know my father has been to your place, but
it's a very good customer.
But I have not. You're based in what part of the area?
So right now we have a warehouse right there on Causeway Boulevard and almost US 301.
Okay.
We are expanding our footprint, getting a bigger warehouse that will allow us to handle more capacity.
Okay.
But for the next 4 to 5 months, we're gonna stay there, which is the end of our lease.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. So Causeway and 301.
That's where our main warehouse is. That's where we have our hard drive shredder. That's where folks, if they have equipment and they want to drop them off and they want to see a cool hard drive being shredded by a big machine, they can do it.
I was going to say, I'm not going to lie, that might be my favorite thing anybody has said today.
That's
is
pretty
hard
cool.
drive shredder.
Yes. Yeah, I know. we gotta start bringing them along for trade shows and stuff. It's like, bring your hard drive and see it get shredded.
Yeah, for sure. That would be so much fun.
Don't stick your hand.
Yeah, right. Definitely have to figure out a slot that's just hard drive size. So
it is, but you can.
It's also hand size, so fair enough.
Yeah, but that's where we are. But, I mean, we live in a wonderful world. We have logistics partners that allow us to service clients all over the country. In fact, we just had a pickup in Illinois, right?
Oh, wow.
And it's all white glove. It's the beauty of the age we live in. We have partners that we trust, and we bring the material in. And it's still the same process. We measure everything that gets put in, and we measure everything that gets put out.
Gotcha.
So everything has an actual tangible social impact with wonderful partners that we have, like Hillsborough County Schools and folks like Frontier and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
A lot of good stakeholders.
That's good.
Yep.
Well, if people want more information about what it is you're doing and to follow your journey, how can they do that?
So I would strongly encourage everybody to follow us on social media. We have a very cool program that we're going to be doing in February. We're going to start it, and it's called A Tablet for Each Kid. Right? That's not technically the name, but a tablet for each kid that lives in Hillsborough County. No, but
.net.
No, but here's the thing. The gist of it is that every Friday for the remaining of 2019, we're going to be giving away one tablet to a kid in the community.
Okay.
And we were going to do it every Friday throughout the whole year.
Okay.
And the purpose of this is to not only tell the story of all the, kids and families that don't have access to technology in our communities, but also showcase how there's a need and there's a powerful story behind it. We see it. Right? A teacher tells us that a piece of technology means better grades, means more access to education, means a kid learning to love learning. So that's what we're going to do. you can go to our website, which is www.esmartrecycling.com, or follow us on social media because it's a social media driven campaign. Upload your story, upload a very quick video of telling us how, either your kid or a kid that you know would use technology.
Sure.
And we'll have a drawing every week, and we'll give away free tablets.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you for coming and talking to me and giving me an update on how things are going.
Thank you for having me.
These purpose-driven companies, the stories are my favorites.
Well,
so.
I appreciate the support, and I think next time we should do it with a pile of computers in the background. So when we get to the other warehouse here, you and the crew are definitely invited.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Yeah. That's like he said. So much technology is thrown away all day, every day, and I did not know. I did not have that statistic on lithium-ion batteries and water contamination. The battery in here, just the battery in here, will contaminate 100,000 gallons of water.
What?
If it's not disposed of properly.
Oh, that makes me feel horrible.
That's like, I had always known it was bad, but whoa.
Yeah, no, I had no idea.
That's a crazy amount of water destroyed by something as simple as your phone battery. And like I said, tablets or laptops have significantly bigger batteries. They're gonna ruin even more water. That's crazy. So, eSmart is a great. They'll take care of it. They'll make sure it's all disposed of properly. That's great. When I was at Radio Shack, we had a box in our store that people could come when they'd buy a new battery. We could take the old one and dispose of it properly through a similar type of organization. Right. But obviously, the stuff that he's doing is on a significantly grander scale because they're pulling apart motherboards and stuff so that the what is it, chromium or whatever that's in capacitors and stuff doesn't get into the water and all that because there's all kinds of toxins in motherboards. So
there need to be billboards that say things like that.
Yes. Yeah. Because
as you're driving, you just see not a tip, but a helpful suggestion.
Yeah.
Did you know?
Did you know your cell phone battery will ruin 100,000 gallons of drinking water? No, I did not. Holy cow.
No.
So, programs
now
like
the
that.
ones, all the electronic devices that my husband won't let me get rid of and they're in a drawer somewhere, those are okay though, right?
Yeah, those are fine because they're not in the water yet. So it's interesting. I have always kind of had that problem. And when we moved our offices 2.5 years ago now, we got rid of a lot of monitors, a lot of older computers and stuff. And that's the reason why I know that my father knows where their warehouse is because he took 2 full truckloads of stuff from the old office to Tony's warehouse to have all of that stuff taken care of properly. He said, he called me. He's like, I was not prepared for that many CRT monitors. I don't know why you had that many CRT monitors. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't have anything else to do with them. I had stashed them away because getting rid of CRTs is really difficult. He's like, yes, it is.
We probably have a couple of those at our house, to be honest with you.
Dave says no.
No? Yeah, you can't trust Dave. He doesn't want to get rid of it.
I totally understand. And I had to deal with it myself. And fortunately, Tony was able to help me deal with it.
What's the charge for something like that? Get out.
It depends.
I'm making a box of stuff.
A CRT monitor to dispose of a CRT monitor is expensive because the glass and the cathode in particular.
But you can just drop it off.
So if it's a CRT monitor, dealing with logistics and stuff like that, that's all through him. But it's dealing with a CRT monitor is expensive. Yeah. The actual cathode on a CRT monitor is expensive. CRTs probably cost $20 or $30 to take apart each to be able, because if the thing has been plugged in the last 3 years or something like that, you can still die from touching the cathode.
Wow.
They hold, it's like a capacitor that's the size of, like, they're literally like this. You can.
I think we need to start a separate show called Things You Didn't Know.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's
I
like
learned so much
it's
from
like
these
3
interviews.
years on a cathode. They could still technically kill you if it hasn't. You can press the power button and help discharge it a little bit. But yeah, those things hold power forever. I won't even touch the inside of a CRT. I never would.
See that on the next NCIS, where a spouse takes apart a television set and. How soundly do you sleep, Dave?
Just with a glove, takes the arm, puts it on the cathode, and that's it. How did they die? Well, they were dumb. They touched a cathode. Anyway, we have definitely devolved into nonsense at this point, and that camera just went yellow.
It's that time of day.
The timing is perfect for me to say thank you for those of you who have joined us live. Again, I apologize for the audio problems we had at the beginning of the show, but it does seem to have we do seem to have solved it later on. So I apologize for the first interview or so. Hopefully the sound on those interviews that got recorded will be fine, which it looked like they probably will be.
Hopefully.
But fingers crossed. If not, I will refilm the interview with Kevin at his office so that you guys will be able to see it. And
yeah, because that's a good one.
And the second one was Terry. So
yeah, we can
do the beginning of Terry's interview over if we have to. So, so anyway. On behalf of the staff that's not here and the staff that is here, because a lot of the staff is here, Michelle, Dave, and Adam, and the staff that's not here, I'm Scott, and this has been the Synapse Summit 2019 coverage, and we will see you guys back on Sunday for F5 Live, 9 p.m. Eastern. Ciao.